Hey, hello everybody. This is A7X Fan Ben here with God Mason, and this is episode number 24 of the Pirates CSG podcast. And tonight we're covering Rise of the Fiends. It's another set review, and we're just going to jump straight into it with what the set is known for. And this was the debut of the Cursed Seas renaming, so there was a bit of a controversy with Wizards of the Coast and the constructible strategy game name, so they renamed it Pirates of the Cursed Seas Pocket Model Game. I wasn't really a big fan of that, especially because it does kind of complete the transition from mostly historical in the first 3 to 5 sets to, Cursed Seas. It's not exactly, the name of a historical game, but I'll let you go on to the next little thing.
Yep. This was the only set ever released where they deviated from the blue ocean and terrain sort of surrounds on the islands and terrain, and instead you got red islands, which was really strange. I think it was maybe supposed to be blood or whatever, but it means that if you want to use your little cardboard islands from Rise of the Fiends, you have to put down a red cloth instead, which is kind of funky.
Yeah, I've never liked that. I understand what they were going for with the aesthetic. The set is very red. The packs are pretty much all red. But I think it looks pretty bad. I think it looks pretty strange. Some of usually the islands, the land part of the islands flipped up, and the icebergs especially look pretty strange. I think the whirlpools and reefs can kind of get a pass. The other stuff,
Yeah.
the Sargasso Seas, just looks.
Oh yeah, the Sargasso Seas are really ugly.
Yeah, it looks very glaring and garish and kind of just bad on an ocean. So, and I'm not gonna buy a red, background just to play on it. So.
Yeah, it was a strange gimmick. I'm not really sure why they did it or where it went after that. Probably they realized how bad it looked, but that's how that went. This set also introduced 2 new unit types, Scorpions and Flotillas. Now, I'm going to read the Scorpion keyword first for people who aren't familiar. A Scorpion is a 3-masted ship. It's actually a very long 3-masted ship. All the masts are toward the rear, and up front, it's got this scythe on it. And it says for the keyword, a ship with this keyword printed on its deck plate has a movable blade that can slash its enemies. Yes, the blade does actually move. After a Scorpion ship has completed a move action or a shoot action, if it has not rammed an opposing ship this turn, it may attack any one opposing ship that it can touch with its blade as a free action. The attack automatically succeeds and eliminates 1 mast from the target. No die roll is required. No ability can prevent it. The target is now pinned and can be boarded. Sea creatures can be pinned but not boarded. The Scorpion ship is not pinned. A blade functions even if the ship is derelict. So, in other words, you're basically getting a 3-masted ship with this kind of cool little offensive ability on the front. But one of the problems with Scorpions is because they're all really long and all your masts are toward the back, it's really hard to use your guns and that on the same turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always found them to be overpriced, as we'll see in the actual set. Sometimes when I reread the keyword, I'm surprised by how good it is. The automatic elimination and the pinning are definitely good, offensive effects, but that being said, it's still, not a great ship type by any means. So.
Yeah, it's hurt further by the fact that the masts on these are actually pretty close together.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, never mind the fact that a lot of them really are way too expensive.
Yeah. The mast problem reminds me of longships a little bit, the 3-masted longships.
You're right there.
Yeah, the firing arcs are weird.
At least 3-masted longships tend to be pretty stubby, whereas these, they're ungainly. It's really hard to use all 3 of your guns and use a blade in one action.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other unit type introduced, the Flotilla, is more or less a floating gun platform. Most of them have no cargo space, but they're not prohibited from being assigned crew or equipment. So if you do have ways to increase their cargo space, be it a cargo master or a cargo booster like Ismail or Damek Freda, you can actually put crew on them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, As for the platforms themselves, the rules regarding the Flotilla, a game piece with its keyword as a floating gun platform, treat it like a ship with the following exceptions. A flotilla has a printed movement of T, meaning that it can only move when towed by a ship of its own nationality in its fleet. A ship may begin towing a flotilla by touching any part of it. When towing a flotilla, a ship uses its full printed base move, but any abilities of it or its crew that affect base move are ignored. A ship may use its... No, I accidentally reread that bit. A ship may stop towing a flotilla at any time, where it remains until towed again or sunk. A flotilla has no masts. Instead, it has a flag, which can be eliminated only if the flotilla is hit twice during a single shoot action. When it has no flag, any hit will sink it. If the flag has been eliminated, the flotilla may be given a repair action, even if it's at sea, to replace it. A flotilla may be given a shoot action, even if it has no flag. It is never derelict. It shoots from the dice printed on its base. A flotilla cannot be rammed or boarded, cannot be given move actions, cannot explore. I'm pretty sure they can sort of shoot through themselves, but I'm not entirely sure of that. Can you confirm or deny?
Yeah, they can shoot through their own bulk, similar to Forts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually good to know in case I use a flotilla again. Mm-hmm. As for flotillas as a unit type, they're a great way to add cheap firepower, but they're also not super durable, and I kind of wish they were not as expensive. Even though any cheaper, they'd probably be broken.
Yeah, I think the cost is right. I've used them a lot, very, very effectively. I think they're extremely good bang for the buck, because you can get 4 cannons that are usually pretty good between the ranked and the range for between 7 to 10 points. So they're a very good deal for the points, and we'll see a couple really good ones in this set pretty soon. Mm-hmm. So I like flotillas a lot, and I use them often for great effectiveness, actually. So,
mm-hmm. Something else I'd like to mention is every flotilla also comes with the extended range keyword, which basically means every gun can shoot double its printed range.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is, despite most flotillas actually being pretty similar, they're all within about a 3 or 4 point window, and many of them have pretty similar guns, but the gap between the worst and the best.
Yeah, that's
as surprising as that may sound to some people. Yeah, they can go and read the flotilla ranking thing for more information on that. Another thing that Rise of the Fiends is known for is people who've gotten the checklist will... I wonder how many times it's been posted about on the miniature trading forum, but people will ask, hey, where do I get Cannibal King, Raptor Maw, and Ocho Brazo? There were between 91 and 99 on the checklist. This is a really small set. I think it's even smaller than Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
They were special edition ships. Only some of them were released with the treasure chest sort of special edition box in this set, and a bunch of them were actually never found in the box.
Yep.
So some of them were delayed for later sets. We're going to point those out as we get to them, but we're not going to talk about any of them except for, or at least any of the ones that were delayed, except for Ocho Brazo.
Yeah, exactly.
100 through 103, those were the 4-masted boxed special edition ships. Those were circulated, so those are going to be talked about as normal. In addition, all the LE or promo ships with the bronze corner, they were never circulated either. They could only be found in factory sets, and they're all variations on pieces that are in normal circulation. Some of them are a bit better, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some notoriously good crew and some pretty unique abilities among them. So we'll talk about them when it gets to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they also debuted the stories, which I thought was kind of an interesting gimmick, maybe unnecessary. I've got them up on the video here. It was kind of a cool way to expand upon the flavor text of some of the more famous characters like Blackheart, Thomas Gunn, Phantasma, Calico Cat. People have been around since, the first set or the second set, like 2004 or 5, Spanish Main. But the thing they did here is supposed to be every pack, but the ROTF Rise of the Fiends stories were more like 1 in every 10 packs, so they became a lot harder to collect than the Fire and Steel stories, which did come in every pack. So, and I know I only have a few of the Rise of the Fiends stories, so they're kind of a weird, kind of an odd rarity. But
yeah, they are actually pretty hard to find.
Yeah.
Even though Rise of the Fiends is a pretty cheap set. I don't think I know anybody who's got any full collections of them, maybe aside from Old Man on miniature trading. But,
yeah, of course. Yep.
But yeah, I think with that, we're ready to launch into the set itself.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to start with 001 and leave the Delusion for last, hopefully.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, the Fool's Hope is the first ship in the set. This is a 5-masted pirate ship. It's rare. 19 points, 3 cargo, L move, all 5 cannons are 3S, and then it's got some powerful abilities. It has Eternal, and then it says, if this ship succeeds at a boarding party, choose 2 of the following: eliminate a crew, take a treasure, or eliminate a mast. So this is a kind of a mega gunship that falls short a bit because her cannons are a bit mediocre, and the cargo is quite low, and the cost is quite high. So you're getting 3 cargo for 19 points, which is kind of atrocious, really, especially for the pirate faction. They do have enough named crew to make this a powerhouse. I would recommend maybe one of the world haters from Ocean's Edge, like Calico Cat or Crimson Angel, to get like extra actions, along with World Hater to make all the cannons 2S. Captain and helmsman would still be necessary, and then maybe an oarsman to protect Eternal and to make the ship harder to capture. So the Fool's Hope, I don't know, kind of just like an overpriced gunship that can still do well, but the pirates do have a lot of better options with 5 masters.
Yeah, they really do. I don't know if I've posted my 19-point ship ranking yet, have I?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I think we both remember this was near the top, if not right at the top, which is kind of funny because, as you pointed out, it is not actually all that great a value, because statistically it's really average. All its guns are 3S, base move is L, cargo space is 3, and it's at 19 points. You can basically get Fool's Hope without its abilities at all for how much is that Flying Dutchman promo that circulated in Caribbean? It's like 11 points, right?
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
And it's basically the same ship. You don't get Eternal or the boarding ability, but on this ship, I'd argue those are pretty overpriced.
Yeah.
Because as this set established elsewhere, WizKids considered Eternal to be worth 2 points, and I'm pretty sure this the secondary ability was worth, to them, 4 points at most. So it's really strange to see this so expensive.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think 14 or 15 could work. And like you said in that 19-point ranking thread, the Flying Dutchman is really similar to the original 20.1. It's better, though.
Yeah.
It has better abilities. It's only 1 point more for 2 more cargo. So
yeah,
the Fool's Hope is not only worse than the most similar ship to her, but we'll also see a better version of the Fool's Hope later in the set. So this one,
because the LE ships were clones of ships that were in the set, but with different abilities and traits and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Fool's Hope she's a decent ship, but she's not actually a good value for your points.
Exactly.
On the other hand, the next ship down, HMS Apollo, I think they get all the like the 5 masters out of the way first, and then the 1 masters. I think one of the other things people pointed out is that Rise of the Fiends had some strange organization.
Yeah, it started with Caribbean, but then they made it even worse with this set, with the generic crew. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they did. We'll talk about that later. HMS Apollo is a 14.5 master, 4 cargo, SS move, and then the guns are 2S on the ends, and then a trio of 3L guns in the middle. This ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against pirate ships and linked to Thomas gun. Statistically, this is actually a pretty decent gunship for its size. It's kind of milquetoast, but it's also not bad at all.
Yeah, I like this one quite a lot. This is another one where the LE is even better, but this version of HMS Apollo is nothing to complain about, really. You've got, like you said, it's a little maybe not super exciting compared to the Titan or some of the other crazy English 5 masters like the Endeavor we saw recently. But it's in terms of a budget option, it's actually one of their better 5-masters, only 14 points. You've got a really nice array of cannons. You've got a mix of ranges and good ranks, and the speed and ability are fine. And the Pirates are the best faction. Got a link to Thomas Gunn, who has probably 3 very useful versions. So the Apollo is definitely a good choice for an English flagship, especially in a smaller game where you maybe can't afford the Endeavor, for example. So yeah. And then the next
that's
one,
a good point.
Yeah, the next one is the Aberdeen Baron, which is a rare English large treasure runner, and you'll see why. It's a rare 5-master, 12 points, SS move. The cannons are 3S at the bow, and then the other 4 cannons are 4Ss, and it has the Explorer ability built in, so the ship can dock and explore a wild island using the same move action. So you'll notice good cargo, mediocre, if not bad, cannons, solid speed, and explorer. So this is a rare English 5-master that can run gold, and it's pretty much just a merchant ship. There's no real reason to turn her into a gunship. So for this one, I usually just plop a helmsman on, and usually just that's it, because you've already got explorer, maybe an oarsman if you want. You could try Thomas Gunn, that we'll see soon, who has captain and helmsman for 1 cargo space. But the Aberdeen Baron is actually one of the better English gold runners, and something they could really use. And I like using her because she's really durable too, which is kind of a rarity for good gold ships.
Yeah, Aberdeen Baron is an oddity. I feel like she should be a Spanish ship, if you know what I mean, thematically, because she's big and slow and not too well armed, and her focus is on cargo. But she's absolutely a standout among the English, and a pretty decent ship. Not a great value for points, because you can get faster stuff with about the same cargo space for significantly cheaper, even among the English, but not going to complain. The next ship, which is Spanish, is kind of infamous. This is San Cristobal. San Cristobal is a 17.5 master, 5 cargo, SS move, all 3 rank guns, S at the end, L in the middle 3 guns, linked to Victor de Alva, and then the ability, if this ship has a crew with a captain keyword, she gets plus L to her base move, which means that simply outfitted with a helmsman and captain, San Cristobal can move SSSL, which makes her one of the fastest ships in the game, and I think outright the fastest 5-master. Yep. Or at least she's tied with like 3 or 4 ships for that, but she's the cheapest way to get SSSL out of a 5-master.
Yeah, by far the cheapest. The most, I think the other ones, maybe all of them need Griffin, so which is kind of hard.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to finagle him aboard sometimes. So yeah, San Cristobal is legendary. One of the best gunships ever. Definitely. I think costing her around 20 or even 21 or 22 would have been better. She's definitely...
And people would still use her.
Oh, yeah, exactly. She's definitely a staple of some competitive fleets. Xerix and I saw her in tournament number 2. She did pretty well as part of at least one fleet. And like you said, the speed is just ridiculous, because first strike is almost guaranteed. And the link is amazing, because we'll see Victor de Alva has captain with extra action for 1 cargo space. So consequentially, she's actually one of the best Spanish hybrids in the game, because you put him, helmsman, maybe explorer if you want. You can use back row, the 0 LR reroller, who can link to De Alva and therefore save a cargo space. So you can basically, with a helmsman, De Alva, and the reroller, you can still have 4 cargo, and then you can be moving SS, LS, potentially doubled relatively often. So it's really crazy and pretty much overpowered. But yeah, San Cristobal, one of the best in the game. I think it looks cool too. I really like the hull design, and the sails are fitting as well. So
yeah, she's a very pretty ship. Talking about San Cristobal reminds me of something that I wanted to say about the set as a whole. Rise of the Fiends probably has some of the biggest gaps between its best and its worst pieces.
Yeah.
Because there's some really great stuff like San Cristobal. There's a handful of like absolutely must-haves in the set, among a lot of really, really terrible junk.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end we can give our overall thoughts on the set, and that's something I'll say. I underrate this set, actually. I kind of give it a bad rap because it's small and mediocre, and the Scorpions I hate. But there's a lot of good, sailing ships, just regular square-masted ships in here. But yeah, that was a good way to weasel that detail in there.
Oh, nice.
The next
one
is the Weasel, which is a pirate one-masted sloop. This one is the opposite of San Cristobal. Just a horrible ship. It's 8 points, 3 cargo, S move. Yep, that's right, only S. And the Banshee's Cry is LL for less than half the cost. Anyway, 4S cannon and home island rating. So the ship can dock an enemy at home island, load 1 treasure. If able, she must leave on your next turn. But you're not going to get out of there with no durability and only S speed. So,
well, that's assuming that you even get there, because somebody's going to walk around the table and go, oh, you're trying to raid my home island. Yeah. Then they ram you on the way to pick up gold from a wild island and take your ship out.
There's no way you're going to weasel yourself out of that situation. So
this
one is just that. Even with a helmsman, it's pretty much unusable. So.
Yeah, I would say maybe as a joke you could put an oarsman on it and go, I can keep going at the same speed. An oarsman and a helmsman, and make yourself a really stupid waste of points if you feel like losing a game and having fun at it. But I wouldn't use Weasel. I would rather see Steve Irwin grab it and throw it over a cliff. But poor Steve Irwin, he's killed by a stingray, which brings me on to the next ship, HMS Stingray. That was a really terrible segue. HMS Stingray is a 9.1 master, and she gets 2 cargo, also S move, 2 S cannons, and her ability is L range cannons can't hit this ship. Sorry if you're hearing my dog. She's a little bit excitable. Problem with HMS Stingray is, we've talked about this a trillion times, defensive abilities are next to useless on one masters unless it's ramming resistance. And even if it is, they're of so limited value. She's slow, she's got a useless ability, okay, she's well armed, but this is a bad ship. Really bad.
Yeah, I think it's like considerably better than Weasel due to the ability in cannon, but it's still not good at all. There's not really much you can do with it. So, with a captain and helmsman, she would cost 14, and you could get the Apollo empty for that much. So, pretty bad. And there's a big disparity already between the 5 masters versus the 1 masters. They are about to get a little better, but the Halcon is the next one. It's a Spanish 1-masted sloop. 6 points, 3 cargo, L move, 3S cannon, and once per turn, the ship can look at 1 face-down cargo on any ship. So a nice little spying ability. This one is basically just a support ship to maybe fill out the points when you're looking for a ship at the end of your fleet when building it. I've used her a few times, mostly in big games. You could send her out maybe empty and be a really slow gold runner that spies on enemies from afar, or with a helmsman as well, but then you only have 2 cargo. So for the Spanish, it's not a very good gold runner, but I mean, if your collection is limited or you just need to fill out points in a big fleet, it's not a terrible choice.
Yeah, Halcon is not too bad at all. She's nothing special, but if you really do need just sort of something to fill a gap, she'll do the job decently, and her ability is probably all right, because it'll let you figure out what sort of crew your enemies are using. Yeah. Next up is Sorry, I just hurt myself a little bit. Magdalena, which is another 1-masted sloop for Spain. 6 points, 3 cargo, SS move, 2 S gun. When touching a pirate ship, this ship can load as much of that ship's treasure she can carry. So it's kind of like Halcon with a better gun and better base move, but worse ability. And I guess I'd say she's better overall, but not much.
Yeah, definitely better, because she can run gold while empty a bit better. And yeah, the cannon is nice, but she's probably not going to use it. So I kind of like the way the ship looks too. It looks like almost like a police ship or something in a way, like the red and white, the cross. Like a red cross.
She's a pretty little ship.
Yeah, the Magdalena. I've used her more than the Halcon, partly because she's just been in my collection longer. And the Magdalena has done actually pretty well. The best use I can suggest for her is just empty gold. I wouldn't bother with a captain or a helmsman or anything, really. So, not a bad ship, but not too great either. The next one is the Pestilence. So this is the first Scorpion, and we went over the Scorpion keyword. This is a cursed 3-masted Scorpion. They're all 3-masts. 17 points, 3 cargo, L move. The cannons are 3L, 3L, 4S, and then it's also got Fear. So for 17 points, though, this is not a good deal. Even with a Captain and Helmsman, you're paying 22. So you've got basically 2 overpriced keywords at decent cannons, I suppose, and a relatively average or slightly below average cargo hold, all for a high price point. This is not a good choice, even for the cursed.
Yeah, Pest is Pestilence. You could make this ship like 12 points and you'd still be going, ugh. Yeah. I mean, the 3L guns are good, hard to use. Again, the 4S gun, that's pointless. You're never going to use it. It's not fast. It doesn't have a lot of cargo. You're right about it having 2 overpriced keywords. I think you'd rarely see this ship used even at like 11 points.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, but yeah.
Yeah, Pestilence is really bad. There are some better Scorpions. We'll get into those. Scythe is next. Scythe is 15 points, and for 15 points you get 3 cargo, SS move, and all 3S guns. And you also get +1 to boarding rolls, which I think is more relevant probably, but the guns are worse. The base move is better. It's still not a good ship. Yeah. Because you still got a sort of dead average 3-master with a couple small abilities. If this ship were not a Scorpion and didn't have this ability, I'd say she would be worth 8 points, maybe 9 at the very most.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And Scorpion and the boarding rolls, those aren't worth 6 or 7 points. I'd say, another 11 or 12 pointer here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the Scythe I've used a few times. Still not my favorite Scorpion, but yeah, it's just pretty average and boring. I'd say the artwork is probably the best attribute here. It looks kind of cool and unique. I would say the Pestilence and the Scorpion coming up next look really boring, actually, for cursed ships. Usually the cursed have interesting designs, but at least the Scythe does. So anyway, and the Scythe is kind of like I did this in the Pokey Ship thread at Miniature Trading. Sometimes they're called Pokey Ships because Scythe is like Scyther from the Pokemon series. So that's
is that really where that came from?
I don't think they named the ship because of that, but that's part of.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's part of.
I mean, like where the Pokey Ship's name came from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that or Kabutops is another one, definitely. That's pretty much identical.
You're right.
So, yep. And that was Holoferns that originally coined that term. The next one is the Scorpion, which is like, the whatever it's called, self-titled, autonomous name. And the Curse get another 3-master, of course, 15 points, 4 cargo, only S speed. So this is the slowest Scorpion we've seen yet. All 3 cannons are 3L, though, and it's got Eternal. So this one is maybe the best in terms of pure combat. It's got kind of that dreadnought type thing going for it. S speed, solid cannons, Eternal, and the cargo is a little higher at 4, so you can afford to put a decent amount of crew aboard. So I would say the Scythe is better because the speed is really important, but Scorpion is kind of a fun, intriguing option for cursed players. But if you need a good gunship or you don't really have much cursed stuff, this is never gonna see the light of day in your collection.
Yeah, Scorpion's problem, of course, the guns are great. The cargo space is good. The base move is painful. This might work as part of kind of a big, slow battle group, but Scorpion's problem is that you absolutely need a helmsman, so you're going to spend another 2 points anyway. And they have limited access to world haters, so increasing the cannon ranks isn't all that easy. I guess helmsman, oarsman, and then maybe a captain is how I'd use this. Maybe if you can find some cheap extra action availability, but extra actions are probably more useful on a better ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. After Scorpion comes Bloody Blade, and Bloody Blade is a 16-point Scorpion again. 3 cargo, L move, 2L, 3L, 3S guns. Kind of strange. This ship ignores the first hit she takes each turn as long as she has all her masts. Not too bad an option, but kind of missing the point of being a Scorpion. I mean, she's a bit more durable, but her guns are weird. She's still not fast, and she still doesn't have much cargo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. This one, I will say, the Bloody Blade is actually my favorite of the Scorpion ships that can fight with the best of them. She's got a good defense ability. The cannons are pretty much the best, and you have just enough cargo and speed to be a decent gunship. So the Bloody Blade, I think, is the best of these 4 that the Cursed got. Obviously, as far as ships go, even the Cursed still have better options for gunships. So it's still not a great choice, but for Cursed players, this is the most viable option. And I have used the Bloody Blade multiple times now, including some campaign games, and she has done pretty well overall. So this one is, I think, the most usable of the Scorpions. And now into the flotillas, which I love. The first one is also Cursed. This is a flotilla called the Death's Anchor. 7 points, no cargo, of course, T base move, so you have to tow it. And all 4 cannons are 3S, but then they've got printed cannon ranges are doubled, so extended range. So 4 cannons firing at rank 3 with S plus S range. So a pretty good bang for your buck here. The Kurt's got a pretty solid couple flotillas, not as good as the English or the Spanish made out, but this is something the Kurt's can really use, and I have used the Death's Anchor. This one especially has been in my collection for quite a while now. I have multiple copies of it that I've used, and it always does pretty well. I don't usually do well with rank 3 cannons, but if you're getting 4 for 7 points, that's about as good as you can get on firepower. So I would highly recommend Cursed players get a hold of this. The Fallen Angel, Celestine, and Grinder come to mind or even Executioner maybe come to mind as pretty good ships to tow it. So pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say probably Executioner, because Executioner has, these like double S range rank 3 guns are, I guess you can say, comparable to 3Ls with a little bit more range.
Yeah.
So you'd probably want them paired with a ship that's got guns like that. The Grinder probably isn't quite scary enough to face, even with Death's Anchor, to deter people. So I'd say I'd probably put it with Executioner.
Yeah.
After Death's Anchor comes a Spanish flotilla, Diablo. Diablo is 7 points as well, but half of its guns are 2S and half of its guns are 3S. So same cost, better guns.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, this one is quite good. I just love the firepower for the cost. And yeah, for the Spanish, I think an underrated strategy is actually hooking these up to gold runners with good base moves. So La Monarca would pair really well with this for a great defense system, better than a Canceller in some cases. So definitely.
I did pair La Monarca and a flotilla on one of my fleets at some point, but I went awry the rules, and people let me know of that, and I kind of made it private since.
Okay. Yeah, I think I had a fleet with a similar combo. I don't know if it was this flotilla, but anyway. The next one is my favorite flotilla, and what I think could be the best. Gibraltar, named after, the rock, of course. This is an English one, and it's also 7 points, and all 4 cannons now are 2S. So they're basically rank 2, firing at S plus S range. This is a fantastic flotilla. I personally think this is one of the best pure deals on firepower in the entire game, on par with some stuff like the London and other great bang for the buck gunships like the Oxford. And actually, the Oxford would be a good ship to tow to Gibraltar, because it's got SL based move. But this one, I just can't say enough. It looks boring compared to some of the other colorful flotillas, but in terms of pure effectiveness, this is killer and really, really great.
Another hosting candidate I would like to point out is another unit with the same name, HMS Gibraltar, which is a super steroided up 2 master from Crimson Coast, for those that remember. It's 12 points, but it's got great cargo. It's got, I think, 3S move.
Yep.
It's got 2S guns, and it's got a great ability. I don't remember. I think it's like Home Island Raiding or Cargo Wrecking.
Yeah, Home Island.
It's a great, well-stacked 12.2 master, and if you throw this behind it, you've suddenly got, like, I mean, you've basically got HMS Grand Temple levels of firepower, but you're considerably faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It'd be kind of funny, though, having the Gibraltar patrol around.
Yeah.
Yep. The next flotilla up is kind of a weird one. The Americans get one. It's called Minuteman, and unlike Gibraltar, I would not tow her behind the ship with which she shares a name. Minuteman gets a mix of 2S and 4L guns. So it's got more range. It's got guns that are 4LL and some that are 2SS. I'm not sure this is as good as even... I'd say this is probably worse than Diablo is, because the accuracy is more important than the range is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the LL is cool, but it reminds me of the sniping ability. You're not going to get the 5s and 6s all that often, so it's definitely a weird one, maybe the weirdest flotilla in general, but the Americans, I guess you could say they're just happy to get one in general. This is the only one they got, so yeah. It's still a solid choice, but Americans kind of handicapped a little bit compared to the other big 4 factions. So now...
I would like to add on, I have paired Minuteman with Destiny, one of those American ships from Crimson Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And that may sound interesting and like a cool little gimmick, but it didn't work very well because Destiny has 4S guns with the sniping ability, and then Minuteman, the most accurate guns were the 2S guns.
Yeah.
And I basically only hit with those. It was 15 points, it was plenty of range, and no hits. And it was pretty slow, too, on the SS move.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd like to have at least SL speed at a minimum with Flotilla. USS
Unless it's like a super juggernaut.
Yeah, USS Hudson comes to mind among others, of course. Okay, so we're into the crew now. El Phantasma is the next up. He gets yet another variation here, and this is yet another good one. It's a cursed 7-point rare crew, and he's got a boatload of abilities: Loyal, Cursed, Eternal, Fear. So those are the keywords, 3 of them. And then he's also got SAT, so once per turn before you give a ship an action, you roll a d6. On a 5 or 6, you can give her the same action twice. So this is a very rare source of a die-based extra action or same action twice ability for the cursed. Therefore, he's immediately usable. You're kind of wasting a couple points on Fear, but considering how overpriced Fear usually is, it showed up at 6 on the Unblinking 99. So here it's only 2, pretty much. So this is a fantastic crew for the Cursed, one of the best versions of Phantasma. The Ocean's Edge Sack Captain version is a little bit more purely effective, but this is still a really great choice for a lot of their gunships, especially Executioner, Divine Dragon, the 10 Masters. He's got plenty of good ships to come aboard and command a fleet from. So excellent crew here. I really love this one, actually. I think those kids did a great job. And once again, the artwork is pretty haunting. I've got that up on the video. Neat.
Yeah, this version of El Phantasma is a super valuable crew to the Cursed, and he's probably one of their best for Juggernaut type ships because he adds multiple very powerful abilities. Defensive, offensive, what have you. Not so good is this variant of Hag of Tortuga. I don't know if this is canonically the same Hag as is found in Crimson Coast, because that Hag looks much younger and much less human-like, sort of like rat-facey.
Yeah, it's the same one, yeah.
Yeah, which is strange to me because they look very different. This version of Hag of Tortuga is 4 points, and if a sea monster begins its move within L of the ship, it gets L to its base move. That's not like a bad ability, but I'm pretty sure the Cursed have other options for this ability. So I'm gonna say between the choice elsewhere and the lack of utility for this ability, this is a pretty weak crew.
Yeah, it's not a great one. It works well with the cursed sea monster gimmick. I've actually got a YouTube video coming soon delving into the strategy a little bit in a review format, but that being said, it's not a great value for points, even for a faction that does have a lot of sea monsters. I like using it as a gimmick, because that's kind of the cursed thing, they kind of do wacky, gimmicky things, so I like it for fun, but don't use it if you're expecting to win a lot with it, because it's probably not going to happen. So the next one is yet another person who's shown up before, Blackheart, and this one is not a great one. 7 points, and he's got the massacre ability, so if the ship succeeds at a boarding party, she can kill only all the other ship's crew. I think we both agree that this is worth no more than 5, and maybe even last like 4, and I think this is probably the worst version of Blackheart. Maybe not quite, because he got that weird reverse captain version for 6, so, but when you think about Emperor Blackheart, all powerful, and then the original Sat Captain version, you're pretty much never going to use this one.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about how expensive this ability was in the Davy Jones Curse review. This is a pretty weak crew, and I'm amazed that WizKids even published this. Stuff is really wacky with this set and unit costs.
Yeah, Phantasma's, the one we just saw, Phantasma, the same cost, and he's way better.
Yeah, like, he's probably a little bit underpriced, whereas that one is absolutely overpriced.
Yeah.
The next one up is Sean Cannonball Gallows, canonically the son of Jenny Gallows. He's 5 points. His ability is Loyal Pirate once per turn, D6 extra action, basically. So, not too bad, but you can get better than this with the same ability for a similar price. I'm pretty sure that Calico Cat from Ocean's Edge is 1 point more, links to all pirate ships, and has and has World Hater. Yeah. So, meh.
Yeah, I think it's a great crew, but mostly for larger games when you use maybe both of those. Same action twice for 3, like the original Calico Cat or Le Requin, or there's a ton of pirate crew like that. That's usually a better bang for your buck, because you don't need the extra action difference on a gunship usually, so Gallows won't use it a lot. And some people that don't have the original Hag of Tortuga would opt to use the Mysterious Islands version of Gallows, because he's got the +5 0 limit ransom. He's got that characteristic going for him. So this version of Gallows might not be used as much as the ability would suggest, but it's still a good crew for them. So it's another case of good artwork. I think the artwork for this set for the crew was pretty good. The next one is Thomas Gunn, and you'll know him, of course, from the very first set. Loyal England, and then Captain and Helmsman for 5 points, with a link to HMS Apollo, which has multiple very good versions. I guess 3 or 4 total, technically. And this is a great crew for the English. We've been referencing these a bunch, and we'll see another one soon. This is just a fantastic combo where you get Captain and Helmsman, the 2 most essential abilities in the game, essentially, especially for gunships, I should say, for just 1 cargo space. So, fantastic. All the other nations, other than the pirates, are quite envious of the English for their kind of embarrassment of riches in this case. So this is just fantastic. And the English could really use it, because they've got some ships like the Dover, King Edward, even the Aberdeen Baron, and the HMS Titan that could use this guy in a hybrid setup. So, it's a great crew.
Yeah, Thomas Gunn he's really good. His only problem is that he does have he has kind of a compatriot with the same ability in this set, or the same sets of abilities at the same cost, and a different link, but one that is arguably more useful on more ships. But we'll talk about that crew later. After Thomas Gunn comes Luis Zuan, who is really interesting because he is a Spanish crew that's 2 points, and he's a captain. The reason why he's a 2-point captain is because he's hostile pirate loyal Spain, but that's not much of a big handicap, because you're getting a discount named crew. This is like a must-have for anybody who likes playing the Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is a great one for a lot of their gunships, especially the smaller ones where you run into point cost problems, or if you're running against. It's really, it's really nice to be able to put this guy into a fleet if you're at 38 points and you can't fit a full captain aboard your last ship or whatever. He's really useful in that regard. I'm not really a fan of hostile being a negative. Wolf has talked about that extensively on miniature trading. But that being said, Spain got a great discount crew here. Same as the Hega Tortuga. If a sea monster begins its move with an L of the ship, it gets +L to its base move. And the flavor text talks about how he's actually the godson of the Hag of Tortuga. So you can kind of see where the inspiration for the ability is. France really doesn't need this because they only have, I want to say, around two sea monsters, and they both
Koshodon and Lucadesu.
Exactly, and they're so horrible. So there's no reason to use him really, unless
only
you're using
one of which was out by the time this set was out.
Yeah, yeah. So this is just really poor choice on WizKid's part. I think he should have gotten a different ability. The only thing I can
I mean, there's no rule, I think, officially that you have to have single nation.
No, that's fleets. That's what I was gonna say. If you were using a cursed fleet, this is another way to get yet another booster in there. But the cursed already have around 3 between crew and ships, so you're probably not going to be able to afford 4, let alone get them all in range of the same monsters on a turn. So.
Yeah. All right. The next one up is Lenoir, who is a 4-point French crew, loyal France, Parley. Once per turn, you may re-roll any die result you make for the ship. You may use the second die result. I'm not sure what to think of him because I haven't actually played any games with Parley.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't played enough. I really want to use Parley more. I think it's one of the most intriguing abilities in the game, especially as like an underrated tactic for offense. Using it on a gunship to like be immune for a while, it's pretty intimidating. If you've got 1 coins, you can afford to lose. This one is great though because you get re-roll, and then so you're essentially getting Parley for 1 point, which is fantastic. I guess part of the loyal France, but I think Parley's worth 2 or 3. It's a decent ability. The problem here is Lenoir has 2 other versions, and they're both cancelers. So that's even better than this crew. So Lenoir is a rare example of where all their versions are extremely good. Thomas Gunn would be another one, but yeah. The other weird thing about this one, kind of a fun fact, I thought Lenoir was a girl based on some of the artwork for the sets, because the Fire and Steel version also looks kind of feminine. It's kind of weird. So I was pretty shocked when I think I got the Fire and Steel version long before the Crimson Coast version. So I when I was on the miniature training database a number of years ago, and I saw the Crimson Coast version, I didn't know what was going on, because you can clearly tell that version is male, so I was confused. But that kind of leads into the next one, which is the Lady's Scorn, and this is the first uncommon ship, and it's a pirate 4-master, 15 points, 4 cargo, SS move. Cannons are 3S, 3L, 3L, 3S, and 2 abilities. It's got Eternal and the reroll ability, so you can reroll a die result once per turn. And this is a very good pirate ship in general, mostly a gunship. The abilities and the speed make her stand out more than anything else. You want to put really good crew on this. Definitely Captain Helmsman. I would probably put an oarsman because of Eternal. And then reroll is perfect for SAT or EA extra action. So there's a number of very good crew combinations with this. And to top it all off, it's a really pretty ship as well. Looks
it's got this in. Hold on a second. Chica. Okay. Hopefully she'll calm down now. But Lady Scorn is, like you said, a very pretty ship. She's got this blue motif going for people who aren't watching this, but listening to it. Her stats are all ever so slightly above average. She has a useful, flexible set of abilities. She's not super exciting, but she is a really good, reliable ship. We can agree on that, I think.
Yeah.
After Lady Scorn comes HMS St. George. And now this is kind of a funny one because HMS St. George is a 4-masted ship that's 10 points, putting her, I'm pretty sure, I think she's like the second cheapest 4-master ever released. she might be tied with a couple other ships like HMS Dover for that title, but she has 3 cargo, SS move, all 3 S guns, and then kind of a useless ability when touching a pirate ship. This can load as much. This ship can load as much of that ship's treasure she can carry. So I'd say HMS Dover is better.
Yeah, a lot better.
But this is still a pretty well balanced ship for 10 points when you look at the base stats.
Yeah, it's solid. Dover, 2 more cargo and better middle cannons, so it's a lot better. But yeah, this is still, it's a decent budget gunship, I guess. The main reason I'm not a fan is because it's really boring. The only thing that makes it stand out at all is maybe the cost or the ability, but the ability is not good at all. So, and I think it's a little funny looking. I mean, it looks fine, but the Lady Scorn looks a lot better. I don't know. It's just never a ship that's wowed me, but a decent budget gunship option. I'd just much rather have the Dover, or pay 2 points more for the Oxford, 1 point more for the London. So she's got some steep competition at her cost or just above it. So in the same class of 4 masters for the English. So the Concepcion is next for the Spanish, and it's a 4-point treasure galleon, as I like to call them. 12 points, 5 cargo, L move. Cannons are 4S, 3S, 3S, 4S, and one of the ship's treasures worth +2 gold when unloaded at your home island. So a fantastic ability. Kind of middling stats. You're not going to use this as a gunship. Maybe a hybrid, but I like it because it evokes memories of the treasure galleons of old and the silver fleets from the New World and stuff. I think it epitomizes that ideal Spanish ship extremely well, better than almost any other. It doesn't quite look the part because it kind of looks like a circus ship. It looks a little crazy.
It does.
Yeah, it's got yellow and red.
It's the Ronald McDonald ship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got yellow and red in abundance. Kind of funny, but I mean, it's not super ugly in my opinion. But basically, I would put a helmsman on, probably nothing else. Just try to take advantage of the ability. You could try to go a hybrid route, but there's better Spanish ships like the Santa Isabel that can do that a lot better.
Yeah. I agree with hybrid, or I agree with helmsman. If you wanted to go crazy, you know how the +2 gold and the +1 abilities they stack?
Yeah.
You could, in theory, put one of those +1 crew on here if you made more cargo space with one of the ways available to Spain. We'll talk about that later. I'm not going to say that crew quite yet. Or I see this as a good ship to put a Silver Explorer on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you're playing a game with silver.
Yeah.
After Concepcion comes Tepent, which is another really strange, but I'd say probably pretty good cheap gunship. She's a 4-masted French ship. She's 11 points, and for the most part, her stats look pretty dull. She's got 3 cargo, L move, all 3S guns. But she has the Eternal ability, and she's also kind of a weird-looking ship because she's got this sort of red to green gradient on her sails. Yeah, so she's hard to kill for her cost. You know, the stats are nothing special, but she's really cheap.
Yeah, I think this ship is really unique and pretty cool, actually. I mean, other than Eternal, she's boring, so normally I wouldn't like her, but she's unique-looking, and I've had a tough time with her, facing her, which I'll talk about in a second. The mizzen mast, I think it's a misprint on all of them. The mizzen mast is like double printed. It's only sails on both sides. You can't really see the mast on the third mast, which is weird. Yeah, so like when you put it in, it looks like there's sails on both sides, which is funky. Yeah, it's got a weird, like, almost like a purple-red hue on the sails, but then it's got a nice white hull on the bottom part, so it's kind of cool looking. But I faced this in Vassal Campaign Game 1, where Xerxes commanded the French, and the Spanish had kind of pinned them against the home island, and it was very tough to eliminate them, because this thing can be nasty with Captain, Helmsman, Lenoir, Canceller version, and then an Oarsman, because then you've got a solid gunship, canceling with Eternal, can't capture it until you kill the Oarsman, so it's nasty to try to take out with the right crew setup. And that setup comes to exactly 11 points with the original version of Lenoir and fills up the cargo hold. So it's kind of one of those ideal crew setups that I like a lot. So the T-Pen is a pretty cool ship. And before I go to the next one, on the YouTube live, we're doing that for the first time in a while. I want to just thank Artist Turn for watching on YouTube, and they said Rise of the Fiends is a set that they've got a bunch of cards with, and they've used the Concepcion, so just like me, so nice little comment there. And the next one is the Royal Louis, which is a French 4-master, 5 cargo, 12 points, I should say. 5 cargo, L move. Cannons are 4S, 3S, 3L, 4L, so pretty bizarre. And then it's got Parley built in, which makes it pretty interesting. I think this is kind of a dark horse as a French gold runner with supreme durability. She's got 4 masts, decent firepower for a treasure ship for the most part, and then she's got Parley as well for defense. So I think the Royal Louis, as I'm just going to say, is actually a pretty good gold option in larger games. The French have a lot better options for, grab gold as fast as possible and just win at all costs games. But I think the Royal Louis is actually an underrated ship, and I've used her a few times with decent success, and she could even maybe get a helmsman and a captain for a hybrid role. So I think this one is underrated.
Yeah, she's probably not too bad. I don't really rate her that highly because she's really poorly armed, not very fast, and not really that cheap. But I do have to give her credit. She's probably quite a pain to sink. After Royal Louis comes the American ship, the American 4-master, Congress. Congress is 14 points, 4 cargo, L move, 2S, 3S, 3L, 3L gun, so another weird setup. The ship gets +1 to her boarding rolls, and then +1 to cannon rolls against sea creatures. I guess the base stats aren't too bad, but the abilities are really underwhelming considering her cost.
Yeah, I think this one is actually a pretty good gunship for the most part. Once again, the cannons are kind of funky. The cannons are the best thing going for it. The bonuses, ability bonuses, are kind of lame. I've used this one decently in campaign games. She's not going to be a great choice for smaller games. You can get USS Hudson with more speed for 2 less points, for example, among others like Franklin. I will say, once again, the artwork is outstanding here. She's got red, white, and blue in abundance, and it's a really, really cool American ship, actually. So, Congress, highly recommended for American fans, but not quite their best 4-master. The next one is the Rising Sun, and this is the Pirate 3-master. It's 13 points, 3 cargo, SS move. Cannons are 3S, 3L, 3S, and Captain Jack Sparrow's ability. So when the ship is given an explore action, you can swap a treasure on the Wild Island for crew on any friendly ship. That is one of the most powerful and OP, overpowered, and game-breaking abilities in the game. It's way worse on Captain Jack Sparrow from the Caribbean set on a crew, because you can put him on the high bang for just dominance. But the Rising Sun as a ship is actually pretty decent as, I guess, a hybrid with maybe Captain Helmsman Explorer, and then try to abuse the ability and anger your opponent with it. But that being said, though, for the gimmick, you're much better off just going with Captain Jack Sparrow on a better gold runner.
Yeah, Rising Sun, I would say, is kind of... It's basically the high-paying Captain Jack Sparrow strategy for people who don't want to use the high-paying Captain Jack Sparrow strategy.
Yeah.
I would use Rising Sun. Again, this seems like the perfect opportunity to stack up gold bonus crew, a +1, a +2, and a silver explorer, and then, just put silver in play, and a helmsman, captain, no, not helmsman, a helmsman, oarsman, and explorer on the Rising Sun, and then you can basically just feed the gold or silver, I guess, 1 coin at a time back to your home island, and you'll be getting like +4 per time bonuses on it. So
yeah, that's a lot like that's basically Darren's UPS 4 fleet with a different silver crane. Yep.
Yeah. So Rising Sun is another option for that. I might do that. No, I don't think I'll do that with my play group because kind of casual, but if I do, I'll tell them, look, I lose this, don't consider me the winner because I'm being that guy. All right. after Rising Sun comes Siren Song. This is 12 points, 3 cargo, 2S, 2L, 2S guns, SS move, and then Home Island rating, which is really strange. So Siren Song would be a really good ship if she had 4 cargo, but she doesn't, so she's kind of not quite there.
Yeah, she's kind of in the middle. She can't decide what she wants to be. She actually reminds me of the Rising Sun. I used to get these confused because they're right next to each other. They're sister ships, meaning they're the same ship type from the same faction from the same set. They both have, speed, cargo. Almost everything is very similar, just different treasure-based abilities. Siren Song is just a better gunship, but a little disappointing. Yet another ship that has Home Island rating, but not enough cargo to really pull it off effectively. So a bit disappointing, but not a bad ship really. So, the next one I don't like. HMS Merlin is an English 3-master, only 9 points, but she's only got 2 cargo, only L move. All 3 cannons are 3S, and crew of any nationality can use their abilities on this ship. But with 2 cargo and only 9 points to fill up, there's not much you can do with that. The English already have a bunch of good crew, and pretty much need a captain helmsman just to make her just kind of a boring average gunship. And the artwork is a little funky, just kind of a dark blue. It all kind of just blends together with the sails and the hull. And as a huge fan of the English, I have to admit this is one of my least favorite English ships in the game, and I just don't like her at all. I think 7 points would have been fine, or 6.
Yeah, HMS Merlin. I am a big proponent of this ability. I think it's underrated, but HMS Merlin has 2 big problems. Her stats, she's cheap, but all of her stats are really nothing special. And this ability is at its best on a big ship when you can go really crazy with crew.
Yeah.
Dependent on whether you want to, accentuate really big strengths or not, or just kind of round a ship out well with a bunch of things to pad the weaknesses of a ship. This ship doesn't really have any strengths, aside from being sort of cheap and having passable armament. Merlin is a ship that you want to be good, but just isn't.
Yeah.
San Esteban comes afterward. Another 3-masted square rig ship, also 9 points. 3 cargo space instead of Merlin's 2. SS move instead of Merlin's L. 3L, 3S, 3S guns. And then treasure trading ability. Kind of useless, but a useless ability, but I think a passable support gunship maybe.
Yeah, I agree. This one is not really anything special. The 3L at the bow is kind of cool. The gallery picture is wrong, but the ability I don't like at all. Pretty useless. It's better than the Merlin at least. I do have a story to tell with this one, which I just absolutely love. This is one of the luckiest ships in my collection. It's like a hero ship, despite being like average and mediocre. In my Economy Edition campaign game in 2015, she was part of a Franco-Spanish squadron. The French and the Spanish were allied permanently in that game. And the ship shot like 8 for 9 with average 50% firepower to beat off a cursed attack. I think she killed a giant crab, I want to say. And then she somehow managed to escape through a whirlpool after this devastating, cursed sea monster squadron, wiped out almost the entire Franco-Spanish squadron. So the curse threw 200 or 300 points worth of stuff, including the Loki's Revenge and a bunch of sea monsters. San Esteban survived and returned home, and it's just bizarre and epic. It was one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me in a game. So, and that was the same game where the Black Mamba was the opposite and went 0 for 6 with 6 ones to dismaster herself. It's crazy. So it was a tale of two opposites, with both extremely average ships doing extraordinary and horrible things. So anyway, it's just one of my favorite stories from my games. And the next one is the Jaguar. It's a French 3-master. It's only 8 points. 3 cargo, L move. Cannons are good. 2S, 3S, 2S. And once per turn, the ship can move S after unloading cargo. You're probably not going to use that. very much, if at all. But this one is actually good as a budget gunship. She reminds me of the Tirador from Spanish Main, which was 8 points Spanish gunship. So this one I would do Captain and Helmsman and just take advantage of the cheap firepower. That's pretty basic, but there's not much reason to do much else with this.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about asking is, does the use of Parley count as unloading cargo?
I would say probably not, but I'd have to look it up. I'll look it up right now and see if there's an answer.
Okay, not. Yeah, if there's no answer, then we have a question for Wolf. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jaguar, I agree with you. This is it's a ship with a misleading ability. It's a pretty simple support gunship. It's pretty big for its size and reasonably well armed for its cost. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, it's nothing super exciting. Saratoga is the next one. This is like the fourth version of Saratoga. Yeah. They started showing up. Yeah, Saratoga first showed up in Revolution, and then I'm pretty sure there's one in Davy Jones' Curse.
Yeah,
and in Ocean's Edge.
I think 3. I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, there's at least 3 versions of Saratoga. Anyway, this version is 3 master, 11 points, all 3 L guns, 2 cargo, S move if this ship has a crew with a captain. Keyword, she gets plus L to her base move. I mean, you're probably going to use her as a gunship anyway, so you're going to be putting a captain on her. So I guess you could say she's going to come in with 1 cargo, SL move. I guess from there, do you put Brent Rice aboard, or do you do a helmsman? I think she's a little bit expensive.
Yeah, I think so too, but I would do a helmsman. I actually think this is like one of the weirdest, like under the radar, one of the most underrated, like mid-sized gunships in the game. Because for 16 points, you can move SLS with a captain and helmsman with 3 3L shots. So it's a pretty solid deal. Biggest problem is if you get boarded a lot, your speed's going to go down really fast to a tiny, bare minimum. So it's a bizarre ship where she starts out at S and then turns blazing fast with the right crew setup. So I would definitely do a helmsman, especially because if you just do a captain, if you lose 1 boarding party, she's probably pretty much done for the game. But I think this Saratoga is actually decent. The other 2 versions are pretty decent as well. So it's actually, all 3 are usable and viable, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I would say this version of Saratoga, and I'd say she's probably best for just picking on cheap gold runners that people field. The cost-effective ones like L'Intrépide or Banshee's Cry, or Bon Marine. She's great for killing off gold runners that people felt, I can skip out on them on spending a lot of points.
Yeah.
After Saratoga, wait.
Yeah.
Whose turn is it?
Yeah, I think it's mine. Okay. Jaguar. Yeah. The artist's turn. He was from the Facebook group, the viewer on YouTube Live, and I'll try to put a link to that. We've got almost 130 members at the Facebook group, and we're both on there. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description of the podcast and whatnot. So it's a pretty cool thing. The Belladonna is the next ship. It's a pirate 3-masted schooner, and we're into the common ships now. So it's common rarity, 15 points, but you'll see why. It's got 4 cargo, L move, all 3 cannons are 2S, so quite accurate. And along with the schooner keyword, it can dock at an enemy home island and take as much treasure as it can carry. If able, the ship must leave on your next turn. So it's got the Grim the Savage ability, which is pretty awesome. This one is unique in the fact that, in my opinion, there's only one good crew setup, and I think that's Hammersmith from Fire and Steel. He combines captain and helmsman with 1 cargo space, just like Thomas Gunn, and then probably an oarsman too, because it doesn't take up space and you want to protect Hammersmith. So in that case, you'd have LS speed with 3 cargo open for 21 points with the oarsman with solid cannons, and then you can take up to 3 coins if you dock into home island. So, I mean, it's kind of fragile, but I think that's a pretty solid combo for home island rating.
This is a case where I would really say consider putting Gentleman Jocard on. Yeah. Because you're only going to be able to make this gimmick work once, maybe twice. Mm-hmm. So why not hit your enemy's home island as hard as possible that first time? I mean, with Jocard, Hammersmith, and an oarsman, you're coming in at 24 points for 1 3-masted ship. but you've got a ship that's reasonably quick. It's going to decimate their gold count, and you can cause some damage and defend yourself at the same time. Yeah. I think she's probably a little bit expensive. As weird as that sounds. If she had 5 cargo, she'd be better worth it. Or if she were like 12 or 13 points.
Yeah.
As is, it feels like she's good, but she's also kind of a lot to spend on one 3-masted ship.
Yeah, and she's actually wicked similar to the Wicked Wench from the last set review. Because same point cost cargo, basically 3 2S guns versus 4 3Ls. So pretty similar, but yeah.
Yeah. Wicked Wench does Wicked Wench have 3 cargo or 4?
4. Yep.
4. And is it the same take as much as you can carry ability?
Yeah, same ability. Yep. Very similar.
Yeah, that's interesting. We might have to compare those.
Yeah, it's just durability versus accuracy for the most part. So.
Yeah, you do get durability and range versus accuracy and maneuverability because schooner. Anyway, after Belladonna comes, I want to say Mercure. Another 3-masted schooner. This one's French. 13 points, 3 cargo, SS move, 3 L2S, 3 L guns. Schooner, of course, and S board. The armament is decent. The cargo space is not adequate to make her stand out. And the French have so many S-boarders that I think they don't need the ability on any ships, period.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. I think it's a decent ship, but she would be really interesting at like 11 points or with 4 or 5 cargo. So something like the Décharge, whatever. I can't.
Décharge or however you pronounce that.
That one is far better for the same cost, for example. So this ship is still solid, though. I think between S-boarding and the cannons, she's a pretty viable option, but
she's decent, but she's got a lot of competition even in this set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is another good artwork one. I like a lot of the artwork on the ships.
Very pretty.
Set, so yeah. She's no Gold Eagle, though, which is even worse. You'd think it'd be better based on the name, but this is another 3-masted schooner. This is for the Americans. 15 points, 3 cargo, L move, all 3 L cannons, and along with schooner, it has reverse captain, so after the ship resolves the shoot action, she can move as a free action. This is just another case of reverse captain being overpriced. Should be maybe 10 points, and that's about it. I don't like her.
Yeah, Gold Eagle is an example of why I say American ships don't get any cheaper as they get smaller. Because you can get American 4-masted schooners for considerably less that are better ships.
Yeah.
You know? Gold Eagle is, decently armed, but far too expensive, not fast. Yeah.
I think I personally, this is more of a thread topic, but I think American schooners are one of the best examples of the reverse power creep in the whole game. They had a ton of great 3- and 4-masted schooners in the first handful of sets, and then they had horrible ones. Remember USS Oregon, like such a joke. Yeah. And then this and some of the other ones, just it's kind of sad, but oh well.
Was Oregon the one that had the misprint with the mirrored, the mirrored name on the other side?
Yeah,
how do you say Oregon backwards? Because I feel like we should refer to that ship.
Yeah, I'll have to see.
Oregon Nogaron?
Yeah, something like that.
No, wait, Nogaro?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. The Nogaro is a no-go. Actually, Nogaro, that's funny, because that rhymes with Black Arrow, which is the next ship. That was not a deliberate segue, actually.
Nice.
But, no, seriously, that was not on purpose. I only just realized that. Black Arrow is a weird one. This is a 12.2-masted schooner pirate. 3 cargo, SS move, 2 3S guns. This ship cannot be shot at by ships within S of her. So, statistically, she's super average, but then comes along with this really great defensive ability. I'm slightly weirded out by Black Arrow because she's expensive and statistically not great, but also not super weak and has a really great ability. Yeah. I think she's probably got some potential that's not really been explored much.
Yeah, no, I agree. She's like an expensive pest of sorts.
Yeah.
Best thing, the schooner can help get within S of a ship, because then you get the stern turn to get within S of an enemy ship, maybe. I've used her mostly only in the campaign games. I believe the Sister's Rage is just better for one less point.
Yeah.
Got one more cargo, but that being said, the Black Arrow is still decent ship, just kind of a pricey pest, I guess. PP. The next one,
PP.
I can't pronounce
Okay,
the next one. I have no idea, but anyway, this one is a French two-masted schooner. It's another common. 9 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3L, 3L. Along with the schooner keyword, it says when the ship carries no cargo, she gets +S to her base move. So I know you don't like those a lot. I think they're actually kind of underrated. So you'd go out at LS, get 4 coins, come back at L. So not a great deal, but you could also turn her into a hybrid, I guess, with a captain and helmsman, but then you lose the ability. So it's kind of like either you utilize the ability and risk going really slow on the return trip, or you kind of waste like 1 or 2 points on the ability and try to do a hybrid. But it's not great, but I don't think this is a terrible ship.
She's not a terrible ship, but my problem is I think she is still too expensive, because no matter what you build her for, you're sacrificing her ability to function as the opposite thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you decide, okay, I'm going to make her a gold runner, okay, yeah, then she's going to move out at LS, has 4 cargo, she's only 9 points, okay, she's not as, she's not like the greatest French gold runner, but she's still a decent empty gold runner choice. But you're spending 9 points and you're getting a couple 3L guns that you want to use. Yeah. Whereas if you go, okay, I'm going to put a captain on this, make her a hybrid or a support gunship, you're losing out on the +S to base move from the ability. So you have to put a helmsman aboard. So you're going to spend 5 points on a 9-point ship. So at 14 points, you're not getting good value when you build her as a gunship or a hybrid.
Yeah. She does have good artwork too. Kind of wacky.
I think if she was 7, she'd be exceptional. And yeah, she's very pretty.
Yeah, kind of like the Mercure. Very similar artwork, actually.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean when I say this should be a 7-point ship? Because then you can at least bend it to be what you want, like, respectively.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yep.
All right, after glaive comes fly, which, or maybe flee or fly, I think. Yeah. A really strange ship. This is an American schooner, 2 masts for 9 points. The masts are 2S and 3S. 3 cargo, SS move. This ship can't be pinned. I don't quite know the point of this. I guess it's supposed to be a support gunship, but kind of proving my point of view that Americans don't really have many good small ships.
Yeah, it's basically just a poor man's version of the Peacock from Revolution, because that ship is exactly the same, except it's SSS. So this is just a worse ship. It's just a direct downgrade that proves, once again, the American schooner has proved the reverse power creep may be better than any other ship, class in the game. So the Fly, that being said, the Fly's not awful either, but there's no real reason not to use the Peacock. Actually, I think the Peacock might have 2 cargo, but she's still a better support gunship, or even a better empty gold runner, actually, too. So, anyway, you wouldn't want to put a needle through her sails, because she might not be able to go very fast. The Needle is actually the next one. It's a cursed 2-master, 10 points, 2 cargo, S speed, just like the cursed Enjoy, unfortunately. Both cannons are 3L, and it's a fog hopper. So if this ship ends her turn in a fog bank, on her next turn she can use her move action to move out of any other fog bank in play. As fog hoppers go, though, this might be the worst, or at least outside of a promo or two. This one is just...
No, I think this one is the worst, because I've looked at all the fog hoppers before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not very good. The speed just really holds it back. If it had... Man, you'd have to make a lot of changes to this. I think to be worth 10 points, it'd have to have maybe 3 or 4 cargo and at least L move. The Hangman's Joke is 1 point more and just way better.
Yeah.
The Needle is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Cursed even have another ship named the Needle. But one of the other things that's wrong with the Needle is I mean, you do kind of want to use her as a gold runner because she does have 2 cargo and she can move it pretty. She can move it pretty securely, but meh. I mean, I think she's probably best as an ambush, small ambush gunship.
Yeah.
Captain Helmsman, but even then, she's not that great.
Yeah. No, I've done exactly that in multiple campaign games, and she still disappoints. So she's taken out of action so quickly, and she doesn't have speed to like move between fog banks very well either. So.
Yeah, Needle, I think every time I've looked at making a Foghopper fleet, she's like, okay, she's just not good enough because she can't really specialize as well as any of the other ships.
Yeah, exactly.
If you did put Needle in your fleet, you'd be very quickly, seeking out your copy of Hangman's Joke. Yeah, you saw what I did there because the next ship is Sea King. English ship this time, 6 points, which is a strange one. 2 cargo, L move, 3 S3L guns, and then the sniping ability. So double the range of the cannons and roll 6 to hit. This is comparable to HMS Maresman from Spanish Main.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, very similar.
She's almost the same. She's a little bit slower. She's L instead of SS. And I think she gets a 3L gun instead of 2 3S guns.
Yep.
Probably not quite as good because you gain a tiny amount of range and lose some mobility.
Yeah, Mirsman is a little bit better, and even the Mirsman's not a great ship. I haven't had great success with either of these. I've used them a little bit, but they're kind of just afterthoughts, really, for the most part. So, kind of seems fun, but I don't know. For 6 points, you can't expect too much, especially from the English. So, anyway, the Bazana is a little better. It's a Spanish 2-master, 8 points, 3 cargo, SS move. Both cannons are 3S, and L-range cannons can't hit this ship. So, not a bad ship. I think there's a decent combo with, like, Master Bianco and his haulers in here. Kind of similar to the Pescados de Plata from Spanish Main, actually, a little bit. I don't know, it's kind of hard to know what to do with her, because she's not a good gold runner or a good gunship. So, you've got solid speed, cargo, passable firepower, and a nice ability, but package is a little disappointing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Underwhelming package here, and I would say maybe partially redeemable by use of one of the Spanish named crew from this set, which we'll get to later, which I think is one of the best Spanish named crew, actually one of the best named crew, period. But yeah, we'll talk about that crew later. After Bazana comes Sabre, which is a 9.2 masted French. Wait. Okay. For some reason, somebody has uploaded a picture of a ship with a Spanish flag, and it says this is French. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is French.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's really strange though to see that. It's like it says France in the database. Picture is a Spanish flag. The Sabre 2-masted ship, 9 points, 2S guns, both of them. L move, 3 cargo, and then +1 to boarding rolls. So she wants to be a warship, but she's a little too expensive and not quite fast enough to be a decent 2-masted support ship. Yeah,
it reminds me of a bunch of other boring 2-masters. The James Madison from OE comes to mind, although that one's even worse. It's alright, but just not very good. At 7 points, she'd be pretty attractive, but at 9, not really. The next one is the Argo, and this is an American 2-master, 9 points, 3 cargo. Base move is LS, and then the cannons are 4L, and this ship ignores terrain when she's given a move action. So this one I mostly use as an empty gold runner. He does okay in that role. There's just not much point in putting crew aboard. Maybe a helmsman. You could use her as a scout ship in a big campaign game. I think I did that a little bit in Vassal Campaign Game 3, but she's not really great at anything, so she kind of falls by the wayside, kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, she's, as an empty gold runner, she absolutely falls short of, like, even other ships within this set, like Glaive. And then you start to look at the Americans' other Gold Runner options, like Carolina, I think it was, from Revolution.
Yeah.
Significantly better because she's slightly slower, but she's bigger, I think better armed, and has more cargo space, and she's cheaper. Doesn't have an ability. Argo, and obviously Argo's not a gunship. I think she's probably best if you have a cargo master in play, because then you at least have 4 cargo space to work with, a decent move, and then an ability that might be relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, after Argo comes Hancock, which is named for John Hancock. I think the first guy to sign the Declaration of Independence. I'm sure most people know that. I'm guessing our audience is primarily American. 11 points, 2 masts, both of which are 2S, base move L, cargo space 3. The first successful shot against a sea creature removes 2 segments instead of 1. I mean, the guns are good, but the ability is really terrible. Like, this ability should be free. This ability should be free, and this ship should be, I say, 7 points.
Yeah, 7 at the most. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure it's the only time this ability showed up in the game. But it's not, it's extremely situational. So, yeah, It's kind of a novelty small gunship, but I guess other than the looks and just to say you use this ability, if you could use it, there's no real reason other than those to use it, so pretty boring.
Yep.
I'd rather have a Peacock once again from Revolution. Next one is actually a real star for the curse. It's the Grim Reaper, which is a 3-masted.
3 points, I'll take it.
Banshee's Cry, no. 3-master for the curse, 12 points. 4 cargo, SS move. All 3 cannons are 2S, and this ship gets +1 to her boarding rolls. So you can see it's pretty well balanced. I think this is one of the better cursed hybrids. The grinder for the same cost is definitely better as a turbine, but the Grim Reaper is great. Probably Captain Helmsman, maybe Oarsman. You could definitely experiment with named crew. Even Phantasma from this same set we saw earlier would be a decent choice. But yeah, you've got good firepower, solid cargo, better speed than a lot of the cursed 3-masted ships, and then an ability that's pretty good for being a hybrid too, because you could try to take gold from enemy treasure ships. So a very balanced ship for the cursed. It looks like a French ship, I guess, not aesthetically,
sort of,
like stats wise, yeah. So,
yeah.
So for the cursed, they get a real boon here for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is kind of. I've actually used Grim Reaper. She was in a battle group with Grinder, but Grim Reaper is a very well-rounded 3-master, and I think she's really pretty good even outside the context of the curse. Like, if this existed for the English, we would say, yeah, she's really good, maybe not as good as Oxford or London, but we would still absolutely give her credit for being a solid ship.
Yeah.
I think no matter what faction she's a part of, and the fact that she's in the curse just means that she's one of their best ships overall, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. After the Grim Reaper comes another one it's almost as good, but it's not quite, because you do lose out in some departments for minor gains. Crushed Skull is another 3-master from the Cursed. 14 points, so more expensive. 2 cargo, so not as well equipped there. L move, so slower. This ship also has all rank 2 guns. She gets a 2L in the middle, surrounded by 2S, so slightly better. And she gets Ghost Ship, which is not actually that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want her to be good, but Ghost Ship is a nearly useless ability, appallingly overpriced. This ship would be kind of at 10 points.
Yeah, that should be pretty good there. Yeah.
Yeah, actually at 9 points, I'd say this would be pretty compelling.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Crushed Skull is kind of like it's sister ship of the Grim Reaper. Same ship from the same set, same type, but yeah, she pales in comparison because the Grim Reaper can kind of play a lot of roles versus the Crushed Skull is basically just a pricey gunship. So Captain Helmsman, maybe an Oarsman. You've got pretty good firepower, but get that with the Grim Reaper as well. So the Crushed Skull, not a terrible option considering the cursed woes, but the Grim Reaper kind of destroys her because she's right before her in the set. So the comparison is just inevitable. So it's a cool name, cool idea with Ghost Ship. Good, kind of a cool looking ship, but not quite too effective. Next one is HMS Pride, which is an English ship, 3-master, 10 points, 3 cargo, L move. All cannons are 3L, and you got the reroll ability, so once per turn you can reroll any die roll you make for the ship. And this one I find pretty boring. The English, I don't know, I mean 10 points, we know about HMS Nautilus, HMS Dover, so the Pride, I don't know, she just bores me. The reroll is decent for the Fleet Admiral crew, but in that case you wouldn't be able to fit a captain and a helmsman because it'd come to 11, so I don't know, it's not too inspiring. It's not a bad ship, but it's really not very exciting or worth using either.
Yeah, she's not super exciting, but I would argue that in the context of other factions, say if this was a cursed ship, I think you'd be saying a lot of good things about it. Or if it were French or maybe even pirate, I mean, they have better options at 10 points. But if you gave this to one of the less well-equipped factions, the Americans, the French, or the Curse, this would probably be kind of an underrated ship among them, wouldn't you say?
I think for the Cursed, yeah, but for the Americans, not as much.
Well, the Americans are kind of missing decent mid-priced ships, you know?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Hudson, 2 points more, much better gunship, for example.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Anyway, next up is Ventura, which is a 3-masted Spanish ship. This one's 9 points, 5 cargo, S move, 4S, 2S, 4S guns, and once per turn the ship can look at a face-down cargo on any ship. This to me looks like just throw a helmsman aboard.
Yeah.
It's a really weird one because... Yeah, and the masts, the artwork is weird because they alternate between yellow and red.
Yeah.
The stats are weird because they alternate between good and terrible. Because point cost, good. Cargo space, good. Base move, bad.
Yeah.
Cannons, good. They're bad, good, bad.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, the ship is just all over the place. I think it's funny in that regard. I think it's kind of like a comedy ship. It's another, circus.
It looks like one, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like another circus ship. And it's got, these weird, crosses on the sails. But then, yeah, the sails are, garish and bright colors. And then the hull is, really boring and, brown. So it's almost like they tried to make a ship of, opposites at every turn possible. And they ended up with something that's pretty bad. It's pretty funny. It's actually not too horrible. Because you've got a 2S cannon, you've got a lot of cargo, like you said, with a helmsman. She could run gold and be reasonably durable. The spying ability has some decent value, so it's actually not too bad of a ship, but it's really just bizarre and just all over the place to the extreme. So a really bizarre ship.
Yeah, I'd say Ventura is probably, and she's weird, but despite having so many weaknesses, I don't think she's bad. She's not super amazing, but she's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is the Aquilon. That's how I say it. But anyway.
Aquilon, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm just being bothersome.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, I'd rather have the right one. I just have no idea. It's a French 3-master, 11 points, 2 cargo, SS move. Cannons are 3S, 2S, 3S, and the ship gets +1 to reporting rolls. +1 to her cannons against sea creatures, like the Congress. But this one is not as good as the Congress because we've got low cargo. Cannons are just barely better than average with the 1-2S in the middle. This one does not excite me at all. The artwork is solid as usual for the French, but it's not a good ship for gameplay.
Yeah, she's pretty, but her stats are really not particularly good anywhere. The ability doesn't really fit her stats, and she's got slightly above average armament, average move, subpar cargo space, and not a competitive price. She's just kind of nowhere.
Yeah.
After after her in the set is Lady Washington, which is an American ship. I don't think you were expecting anything else with a name like that. She's 8 points and 3 masts, 3 cargo space, L move. Her guns are 2S, 3S, 4S. And then when touching a pirate ship, this ship can load as much of that ship's treasure she can carry. That ability is go away. Like, that ability is dumb, and they shouldn't have given this ship that ability. Aside from that, I'm sort of vaguely tempted to say she might make a support gunship, but not a particularly good one.
Yeah, I think she's a little bit underrated for firepower, but she's still not that effective of a ship. I will say, I don't know, this is jogging my memory right now. I don't know if this is on purpose or not from WizKids, but the Lady Washington replica from real life is a 2-masted brig that played HMS Interceptor from Curse of the Black Pearl. So I'm not sure if this Lady Washington if the name is from that or not. I mean, it could be a lot of things, of course, but it's kind of an interesting little tie-in, little trivia for POTC fans, and it's got a pirate-based ability, so it is interesting. But as is, though, the cheap firepower is really the only calling card here. Everything else, I don't know, there's no other roles, really.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weirdly ugly, too. I don't really like the pinstripes on sails, personally, but anyway. All right, now we're into the crew. So we're into the common crew. First one, how do you pronounce it again?
Devereaux.
Okay, Devereaux. So this is, I guess, the third time we've seen him. This is not one of his better versions. He's cursed here, just like from Davy Jones' Curse. 5 points. He's got Hostile Pirate and Loyal Curse. And then he's got Rolando's ability. So once per turn, if the ship is touching another ship, reveal treasure aboard the other ship. This ship can take as much unique treasure from the other ship as she can carry, even those that otherwise can't be removed. So I think that's only worth 2 or 3. So I haven't used him yet, I don't think. So, and the other versions aren't quite this bad, so this one's gonna really struggle with the usage, even though he's easily found.
Yeah, Devereaux, I mean, his version from Revolution is like really pretty good. I sort of like the idea of this ability because it seems like an anti-cheesing setup, but you kind of have to know that your opponent is going to try to game you with a flood of unique treasures.
Yeah.
So outside of that, he's next to useless, and he has other really good variants.
I think his Hypertech story is like one of the most interesting, but that doesn't translate to good abilities at all.
Yeah, I need to make progress on the canon wiki at some point, but my life has gotten really busy now that I'm working full time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how soon I'll be able to make progress on that project.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I got my own wiki project that might never get done, so whatever.
Yeah. Next up is Calico Cat. Now, this is a 3-point version of Calico Cat. She's really squinty in this one, and among other adjectives, which I don't think are all that appropriate to say on the podcast. But if you care to know, open up her page, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Her ability is Loyal Pirate. Once per turn, before you give this ship an action, roll a d6. Okay, so it's same action twice. But the funny thing is, she was printed at 5 points, even though technically, I think like the Wolf, I guess, has said she should have been 3 or something.
Yeah, it's official errata. So she's basically, except for the Loyal, she's just a clone of her original Spanish main version, which is kind of disappointing for such a legendary crew in the game. But that being said, I guess it kind of gives people who don't have access to Spanish main, a common version of that same crew, essentially. So, and obviously a fantastic ability for the best faction. So still a great crew, kind of a fun novelty, but just a clone in the end. The next one is another crew we've seen. The Inquisitor is back. He's Spanish again, 6 points. Here he has Hostile Curse, Loyal Spain, and you might remember he had Black Mark in Davy Jones' Curse. But he still has Massacre ability, so if this ship succeeds at a boarding party, she can eliminate all the other ship's crew. Just by virtue of being cheaper, he might be better than the original version. This is pretty much another clone, almost, but it's just a complete flip-flop, because his previous version allows him on he allows cursed crew to be on Spanish ships, which I actually did with the Cristal del Obispo in an interesting fleet, but now he's hostile cursed, so he's flip-flopped and not quite as intimidating, I guess, from the picture, but just kind of overpriced, really.
He's found God. Yeah, he just, I don't think any version of the Inquisitor is particularly good.
Yeah.
I mean, the Black Mark thing has some interesting uses, but this is not the Black Mark version. This is what we've basically agreed to be a too expensive version of, it's too much to pay for the ability.
Yeah.
It's 5 points at the most, possibly 4 points.
Yep.
Next up is the, I think, second version of Trevor Van Tyne, and he's really interesting because he is 2 points, hostile, cursed, loyal England, and he's a musketeer. So he's basically the price that we kind of agree musketeers should have always been.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, being, I guess you can say, the single best musketeer in the game, he has a really important link, which I think I'd like to talk about as part of the Trevor Van Tyne thing.
Yep, go ahead.
He is linked to the next crew, Hermione Gold, which is also a Captain Helmsman combo in one crew. So in other words, if you put them on the same ship, for 7 points, you can have a Captain Helmsman and a Musketeer for 1 cargo space and 7 points. Separately, those are 3 cargo spaces and 8 points.
Yeah.
So if you want to combine them, the English do it better than anyone, and Hermione Gold is good competition for Thomas Gunn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really cool combo. It works on a wide variety of English ships. Can help them be hybrids while still getting the extra cannoneer firepower. So both great crew, especially Hermione Gold. Kind of random things on the artwork. Hermione Gold looks like she's got, I don't know if it's like a turtleneck. I don't know. I've always been confused by her artwork because it looks like she's wearing some kind of neck shield or something, but I don't know if it's just the shadow, but it looks weird. Anyway.
It does look like a turtleneck.
No, but it's like skin tight. I don't know. Anyway, and then Trevor Van Tyne has 2 pistols. He looks cool, almost like a Wild West, like steampunk type thing. I don't know. It looks like Trevor Van Tyne looks like he's like out of place for like a movie poster or something, like a modern movie poster. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he wouldn't look too far out of place, say, in an Indiana Jones film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Trevor Van Tyne does have a complete page on the Canon Wiki, though.
Nice.
I guess basically how the way I've figured out Trevor Van Tyne is I think he is a super romantic type, because first he fell head over heels from I think it was what was her name? She was a French Zero LR crew. Yeah, Godiva. First he was head over heels for Godiva, and then something happened to Godiva, and now he's head over heels for Hermione Gold. So yeah, he's just this funny kind of badass guy who keeps falling for female pirates.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about Ralph David and then pop
Good plan.
Room. This guy is American. He's only 1 point, and he's got Hostile Pirate and Eternal. So this is a really interesting crew for the Americans, a very good one. The hostility keeps his cost low, even though he should still cost 2 or 3. I think Eternal maybe is worth 3. But here the Americans get it for 1 on a crew, which is just ridiculous and extremely unique. And that just makes the Americans even better, because they've got a lot of good ships to put them on. The Constitution, the Kettering, the Mercury submarine, for example. Ralph David is a very good crew for optimal American gunship setups. So highly recommended for American players.
Ralph David is actually, funny enough, one of 2 crew that give the Americans the Eternal ability basically on its own. He's one of their very few standout unique ability crew, and kind of helps to preserve the Americans' relevance as a faction, along with the Cargo Master they later got in Savage Shores. After Ralph David is Marrow, which is 2 points. It's this kind of fish-faced looking character. It's really strange. Actually, when Ben gets back, I'm going to ask him to make the sound that Marrow looks like it's making. I'll make that sound when he gets back. But Marrow is 2 points, loyal, cursed. If a crew on the ship with a point cost of 4 or less would be eliminated, eliminate this crew instead. I believe it links to Tidal Fiends or something, which we can find elsewhere in here. They're both really terrible crew. They're just a clone of Leanne Park from Caribbean, which we agreed are pointless because there's such a thing as an oarsman. So Marrow is totally useless. I'm going to start on Crimson Angel. Now, this version of Crimson Angel is kind of a strange one because she's just 3 points and crew of any nationality can use their abilities on this ship. I'm pretty sure this ability was made available elsewhere for the pirates, but the fact that this ability exists as a crew means they have a ton of flexibility when it comes to doing really crazy setups on bigger or more expensive ships, because of obviously it allows you access to the best crew of every single faction. Now I'm going to go back and now that it sounds like Ben is back, I have a game for you. I already talked about Marrow and how it's basically the Leanne Park situation, totally useless.
Yeah.
Can you make the sound that Marrow is making in its picture?
Yeah, let me. I got 2 ideas in my head, but
okay,
I would
both.
Say
yeah,
that's what I'll try. I thought of that either that or a high pitch, but I don't think high pitch. It looks too big for that. So
it does look pretty big, but my idea for high pitch was something like
yeah, yeah, nice.
Yeah. Marrow's a nasty little thing, and I was talking about Crimson Angel. Are there any other pirate crew with her exact ability? I can't quite remember.
Darn, that's a good question. I want to say yeah, but I'm not sure about the 3-pointers. I'll try to look it up if I get a chance here. The next version of her in the same set is similar, but not quite.
Yes, similar in many ways, better.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start Dominic Freda as well, just for the heck of it. Dominic Freda is, I think, one of the most important Spanish crew out there. I think he's really, really good. Dominic Freda is 4 points. He's an explorer, and his abilities, this ship gets +1 cargo spaces. This crew takes up no cargo space. In other words, he can make almost any ship out there into a gold runner because he adds space, but he's also an explorer. I think he is incredibly useful for all Spanish gunships because if you have 4 cargo and you don't want to sacrifice any space, but you want to make your ship faster, you can do Dominic Freda and a helmsman. So you get an explorer and you get a helmsman, but at no cost to cargo.
Yeah, this is wicked good crew.
Yeah.
Any Spanish players need to get Dominic Freda here, and he's great because the LE version, which you don't want to pay $20 for, is also 4 points and the same picture. So you can it's one of the best proxy chances in the game, and this is a common from a relatively common set, so you could use either version. So Spanish players, Dominic Freda is really essential, honestly. So both versions are fantastic.
He's absolutely a must-have.
Yeah. And actually, I looked it up. Anna Maria from Caribbean has...
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, for 3 points. Same as Crimson Angel, so... Yeah. Okay, the next one is Griffin, but the common version. So this is English, 5 points. S-boarding, which we've gone over a bunch. Probably worth 3 or 4. Definitely not 5. And we're going to see a version that's so much better later that I don't really have anything else to say.
So, we'll talk about that when we come to it. This version of Griffin, I'd say comparable to, say, all your French S-board crew, is in some ways better because the English don't have as many.
Maybe. But the French ones are usually captain with S-board for 7, so it's slightly better deal.
Yeah, so, I mean, okay, I think maybe it's more fair to say this version of Griffin has its uses, but is definitely a flawed crew.
Yeah.
After that is Capitaine Erasure, who is actually a pretty important crew for France. he's got some pretty like smooth artwork compared to some of the washed out stuff we've seen for other portraits in this set. Capitaine Arizur is 6 points. He's loyal France. He's a captain, and he has sack, which, yeah, that's really important. You can do some really nasty stuff with Arizur.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's just a tiny bit worse than Arathiel from Crimson Coast. I would say these two French sack captains are sort of the forgotten sack captains, maybe because France isn't known for them as much. So it's easy to get it mixed up because they both start with ARA for their names. Anyway, but they're both pretty awesome. Even at 6 points, this is well worth using. So the next one is Gus Schultz, who's an American crew for 2 points, and he's got Eternal. So you'll notice very similar to Ralph David up above, but since he's not Hostile Pirate, he pays the full 2 points for Eternal, which is still a great deal. I think it's worth 3. And this is another all-star American crew. The Americans kind of got an embarrassment of riches here with Eternal, because there's only 3 crew in the game with Eternal, and we saw Phantasma earlier, and the Americans got 2 of them for a total of 3 points. So it's just crazy how good that is. And it makes the Americans a complete powerhouse in death matches, 100-point games, and things like that, and campaign games. Because like I said, they've got multiple ships canceling built in, along with the Kettering. They've got the Ghostwalker. They have a lot of awesome 5-masters. So Gus Schultz, along with Ralph David, just fantastic crew. Arguably a must-have for American players.
Yeah, I would say both of the Eternal crew are. I talked about Ralph David after you're done. Because you've basically already talked about a near-identical crew, I'm going to let you start Voodoo Doll as well.
Yeah, so
the first of the unique treasures.
Yeah, exactly. Number 064, so you can tell how small the set is.
The ships, the normal pack ships, I've got my little checklist out, only go up to 54.
Yes, that's pretty small. That definitely.
Only a third of which are. This is really strange, and it would explain why there's so many. Backtrack real quick to ships. There are a total of 18 common ships in Rise of the Fiends, 24 rares, and only 12 uncommons, which is really strange.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that much, just because like rares weren't as rare in this game as they are in other collectible games, which is kind of nice. Yeah. It makes you feel good when you open packs, even though it's a little bit deceiving. So, anyway, Voodoo Doll is kind of a cool one, actually. It's a UT. At the beginning of each of your turns, choose a non-cursed enemy crew and roll a d6. At a result of 5 or 6, turn that crew face down. It can't use its abilities on its next turn. So it's kind of like a luck-based canceller that you get for free if you can pick it up. Doesn't affect curse stuff, but this one is kind of cool, actually. I don't think it's as bad as the other faction-based crap that we're going to see soon. So Voodoo Doll is kind of an interesting novelty, which I've used a few times reasonably effectively. Kind of a while ago, but it's a decent one.
Yeah, there are better ways to really mess with your opponents, but Voodoo Doll is not a bad one if you're not facing an enemy that's using the Cursed. The next one up is Barrel O' Monkeys, which, funny enough, has a reused piece of artwork from Spanish Main, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I think this is the artwork for Skyme the Monkey.
Yep.
When the ship leaves a wild island, randomly choose one of her treasures and put it face down on that island. When the ship touches another ship, randomly choose one of the ship's treasures and put it face down on the other ship. Eliminate the treasure instead if the other ship's cargo is full. So it's a mildly inconvenient, not particularly interesting, unique treasure. I don't really see all that much use for this.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird novelty that I think the flavor text is more confusing than it needs to be. Wolf actually designed this one, basically, so he started having a little bit of influence over some stuff in the later sets, so this is pretty much his idea, which is really cool that he's still in the community and can talk about it and whatnot. So it was actually discovered recently in Vassal Campaign Game 4. It's kind of like a minor annoyance, but it's kind of a funny. It's supposed to be kind of a funny comedic effect. And Wolf actually posted the flavor text on the forum too, which makes it a little more interesting. But that being said, still not one of my, still not a UT I like seeing at all. But the next one is maybe, I'm trying to think, this could be my least favorite UT in the whole game. Blood Money. Instead of loading blood money, put it face up on the wild island, then reveal all treasure on the island. Each time a ship loads a non-unique treasure from the island, eliminate a crew on that ship that has a point value equal to or greater than the value of that treasure. Eliminate blood money when there's no non-unique treasure on the island. Spanish ships are not affected by blood money. So it's OP for Spanish players and extremely annoying. It takes a long time to read the text, obviously. It's needlessly confusing, and I think it's one of the worst UTs ever conceived.
Yeah. Thinking about this, now that we've gotten to talking about Spain real quick, this is a really good set for Spain because they have a handful of, decent ships, and then like 2 really amazing crew, a really amazing ship, and then a UT that heavily favors them.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, I guess the Cursed and the English got some really good stuff too.
Yeah, the Spanish didn't get shafted in this that.
The Spanish almost got kind of favored in this set. Yeah. Yeah. Blood money it's sort of like another one of those game breakers.
Yeah.
The next one is Cursed Natives. It's another one that Wolf did. I think he must have done like all of the UTs in this set because he's left a bunch of comments on it. On the UTs for this set. Cursed Natives is when revealed, roll a d6. On a result of 1 to 3, eliminate the crew on the ship that has the lowest point value. On a 4 to 6, eliminate the crew that has the highest point value. This ship can then load 1 more treasure only, then put Cursed Natives face down on the island. This ship must leave the island on your next turn. Cursed ships and crew are not affected by Cursed Natives. So I guess it's sort of similar to Bloody Gold, but it's for the Cursed. So this is like a Cursed in Spain favoring set overall then. I sort of like this one. I sort of don't. It's kind of like the last one. It's like, unless I'm using the faction that gets an advantage from it, I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, I don't like these faction-biased UTs, unlike the abilities you have to actually pay for. So, not as bad as Blood Money, but I still not really a fan of it. So, next up is a bunch of generic crew, which...
or actually, before we launch into those, Wolf has posted his full original suggestion for this crew as a comment on Cursed Natives. Should we we read that one off?
Yeah, if you want.
All right. To. His original suggestion was called Hostile Natives, and the ability was, when revealed, roll 2d6. Eliminate a crew on the ship with a point cost equal to the result of each die, or eliminate a single crew equal to the sum of both dice. Reroll until at least 1 crew is eliminated, if possible, then place Hostile Natives face down on the island. That's kind of interesting, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen that before, so thanks for mentioning that. I'm not clicking on all the individual pages because I just have the extended view up.
Yeah, I click on them individually. I kind of wonder, I'm going to click back up through these and see if there are any others where he posts the original full proposal. On the other ones, like Blood Money and Barrel of Blood Money, he says that his original proposal was added in as the LE version. Yeah.
Same for Death's Doll as well. So
Death's Doll
originally didn't have the non-cursed restriction. So
Yep. Huh. And now you were going to say about the unique or the generic group.
Barrel of Monkeys. He actually posted the flavor text as a comment under that too. So if anybody wants to see that, you can click on Barrel of Monkeys to see it. But the generic crew. WizKids made a mistake here because they made some of the captains rare, which makes them way too difficult to acquire, and then some of them are uncommon, and they should all just be generic and really easily found. So this led to a lot of backlash from the players, which makes a lot of sense. I have no idea why they did it, honestly, but it's just bizarre. So and it even ran over into some of the helmsmen. I see the Spanish, and I do have some Spanish helmsmen from this set, and they do seem considerably more common than the English helmsmen from this set, which I may only have 1 or none of. So the rarities on the generic crew got messed up for this set, which just further kind of illustrates how some of the later sets led to the game's decline. So.
Yeah, and also there's a Silver Explorer in general circulation. It's number 71.
Yeah,
which is pretty strange because a lot of the time in past sets, I think Silver Explorers were promo. I think they were like were they tournament packs? Yeah, I think they were tournament pack stuff in Frozen North.
Okay, yeah, and then the special edition from the OE tin.
Yeah, and then I want to say they existed before that. Weren't there some in Crimson Coast or Revolution?
Not that I remember. There was that weird silver coin card from Crimson Coast, the dry powder version.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure there were Silver Explorers from before Ocean's Edge, I'm sure. But I just can't remember which set they're from.
Yeah, the Silver Explorer here that's Spanish, that'd be a good choice for the Concepcion, like you talked about earlier, with the stacking the bonuses. So you could stay within the set here and do that. I will say, a lot of players did like the different crew portraits for the generic crew. So I did that in this set and in Fire and Steel, and some of the players did like that. I kind of like the classic pictures, but it is kind of cool to be able to tell the difference more from the unique faction-based crew portraits.
Yeah, they change not only between crew types, but also crew factions, and they look more like they belong to their respective faction. Yeah. All the cursed ones, say, are dead-looking and ethereal, while the Spanish look Spanish, and the French look French, and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And once you get beyond the generic crew, you come to the super rares.
Yeah, the Crusher is the first one. It's a pirate scorpion, actually, so it's not a cursed scorpion for once. This one is a 3-master, of course, 12 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3S, 3L, 3L, and then just the scorpion keyword, no other abilities. But that actually keeps the cost down very nicely because the other scorpions we saw were 15 points and up. So this one actually becomes one of the best, if not maybe the best scorpion. I like the Bloody Blade a little better, but the Crusher is a very a playable ship, not a great one, but the pirates get one of the better scorpions, of course, because the cursed can't get their own ship type to be good, kind of like the Vikings with the Kettering and whatnot. But anyway, and of course the Americans also stole the submarine from the Mercs with the Mercury. But anyway.
Well, I think the Mercury is supposed to be their own design. It's the layment that they stole.
Yeah, no, I meant to say, like, they stole, like, the concept of, like, the mercenaries should have the best 3-masted submarine and the Vikings should have the best 3-masted longship, but the Americans kind of, like, copped both of those in a way. But anyway, the Crusher is actually a pretty good scorpion, mostly because the other ones are bad, and this super rare pack featured a lot of glitter, just like the Ocean's Edge pack. So the Crusher and the other SRs are quite sparkly and shiny, which is, I guess, cool, but it might turn some people off. I think it's cool, but kind of funky.
I'm not against the glittery stuff here because the units were actually at least unique from the normal set, unlike Ocean's Edge. Yeah. Where they were literally just glittery clones of what was in the set. That was really disappointing. Yeah. But this, at least, I think you could say is arguably the best Scorpion because it's the cheapest, and statistically, it's not too awkward. It's also a good-looking ship. Yeah. It's just also, again, like, not super exciting because it's not amazingly well-armed for how expensive it is. So I guess we can talk about the Doom Box as well real quick, which is a flotilla that came with it. It's also a little sparkly. This is a pirate flotilla. All of its guns are 3S, so it's basically the same as whatever that cursed one was at the start of the set.
Yeah, Death Sinker.
Yeah, Death Sinker. So I guess of decent value, but nothing exceptional and not as good as Gibraltar. So let's talk about Captain Mission or whatever it was instead. They spelled his name at least 2 different ways. Yeah. He's 4 points, loyal pirate Captain Parley. So a captain with a pretty decent ability attached to him.
Yeah, he gets Parley for 1 point, similar to the Noir. So I think this is a really great crew. I think this is one of the more underrated pirate crew in the game too. Maybe because of the rarity a little bit, and his other versions are usable, especially the Mysterious Islands original version. But I think this is a great crew for gunships, or even hybrids as well, like the Darkhawk, maybe the Raven, maybe the Bloody Jewel could benefit from someone like this. So I think this is a really flexible and awesome Navy crew for the pirates, and I'd like to use him even more. So definitely a good one. And yeah, the Doombox is a good addition for the pirates. I think it's a good looking flotilla, but as they go, similar to the Death Anchor, just kind of mediocre, but still a good firepower deal.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out, with this super rare pack came a Pirate Silver Explorer, who also had a glittery tile. Do you happen to know if the coins themselves had glitter?
They are, and I know that because I used them in my Economy Edition game where they were worth extra gold compared to normal values. Yep.
Yeah, because they're silver, I guess.
Yeah. Sparkly silver. Yeah, they're.
Are they sparkly on the backside?
No. So you can't.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
no, that's good because then you'd be able to tell them apart. So it's like
that would be
sparkly.
a little cheaty.
Yeah, because in my Economy Edition game, the shiny silver was worth 3 times the printed value, and then the shiny gold from the OE Super Rare pack was worth 2 times. And I had the silver worth more because there's just more glitter. So there's a ton of glitter on the coins from this Silver Explorer card. It's pretty cool, actually. So.
Actually, thinking about glitter and coins real quick, if the game had kept going, I wouldn't mind if they made the back of the gold coins glittery.
Yeah, that's a solid idea.
Yeah. Although at the same time, that might allow people to cheat if they
use normal
if they put in
too.
7 1-point coins and then a glittery backed 8-point coin.
Yeah, you can tell the difference sometimes with the transparent ones from the DJC set, which is always interesting.
Wait, were those translucent from
the Red Skull card? Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Wolf may have said they made a mistake there. I can't remember though, so I don't.
It's still funny though.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think the different coins are one of the best ways to use house rules. For the translucent ones, I say that they can, at least in some games, they could give the ship Ghost Ship when the coin is aboard.
I like that idea.
Yeah, when the coin is aboard, and then the shiny, depending on how shiny it is, just like I did in my Economy Edition game, they could be worth extra. So
arbitrary amounts of shininess and thus extra value.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, sometime, if you have both, check out the difference between the Silver Explorer from this set versus Ocean's Edge, because it's quite a difference. Or not the Silver Explorer, but the shiny gold from OE, so...
I don't think I have all these different variants, but it'd be interesting to look at.
Yeah, I actually have... Oh yeah, that reminds me, I have a coin bag for my main coin bag has a ton of different ones in it, because I put my zeros in there, the shiny gold, the shiny silver, the translucent, and then regular stuff. So there's quite a nice mix there, and I know Wolf does that sometimes too. And then another little tiny thing for my Command the Oceans campaign game last year, I put some like gold paint on the back of regular gold coins to make them like stand out as shiny. So that's a fun one too. So then it's like gives them a nice sheen instead of being kind of flat. I mean, they're glossy, but if you put them gold on them, they look more like real coins. So it's kind of neat.
I always did also like the way that all the coins were actually pretty well printed on the back to look like a doubloon.
Yeah, no, I love
that. Was always so cool. Like as a kid, it's like, it's gold coins.
Yeah,
because they're well printed to look like a doubloon.
Yeah. I still enjoy opening my tin. I have a regular small size tin from Revolution with my tin, so it's like
a tin full of them, and you feel wealthy just like sifting your fingers through.
Yeah, and then also like it's fun because I took a picture for the fleet review where it kind of, I don't know if it was the flash, like reflected some of the gold off of the inside silver tin, because it's like a little bit, almost, not like a mirror, but it like made the effect cool, so anyway.
Nice. If possible, could you post that picture with this podcast in the thread?
I'll try to, yeah, if I can find it, and I should be able to do that, just gotta make a note about it.
All right.
Little fun fact, this, or not so fun for the seller, unfortunately, who's at Miniature Trading, I think Cthulhu. This super rare pack just sold for only $6.50 on eBay within the past week. So I think, according to my document, it had been at $29 and $15 previously. So prices are going down on eBay. That's kind of a discussion for the next podcast. But anyway.
At the same time, I think that's a case where you can point to it as just maybe not such a good sell time.
Yeah.
Not like a period of time, like it's just not listed at the right time because I think it was you that pointed out something like if you want an item to sell for a lot, you list it for like Friday night or something when a lot of people are going to be home and going to be available to watch the bidding.
Yeah, I don't know if I posted that, but I have looked it up before because I've sold on eBay a bit, and apparently Sunday night between 7 to 10 Pacific is technically the best window, but
yeah,
people they're online more before like some people go into work on Monday or whatever. So anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, after talking about the super rare pack, we're going to launch into the special edition SE ships, but we can't straight away talk about the ones that actually arrived in the set. I've got my little checklist out here. The miniature trading database skips straight from 90 to 93. We're going to postpone 93 so we can talk about 91 and 92. 91, as listed on the Rise of the Fiends checklist, was Cannibal King. Cannibal King was delayed and didn't come out until Savage Shores as one of the scavenger pack ships. For that reason, we're actually not going to talk about it in this episode. It'll come 2 review episodes from now in the Savage Shores review. 92 is Raptor Maw. Again, this one was postponed and for some reason released as an LE or promotional item for Fire and Steel, the next set. So, next set review, we're going to talk about it. And then after Raptor Maw comes 93, which I think I'll let you start.
Yeah, USS Mercury is, in this case, the Windcatcher version, not the submarine. And it's an American 3-masted Windcatcher, special edition, of course. 12 points, 3 cargo, SL move, all cannons are 3L, and along with the Windcatcher keyword, it says this ship ignores terrain. And I believe this is the first time we've seen the Windcatcher keyword, so real quick.
No, it appeared in Ocean's Edge.
Oh, yeah, good point. Okay, yeah. I'm just getting
Although when we later get to Grinder, we will actually talk about the introduction of the turbine, but not quite yet.
Yeah, whoops.
Good.
Yeah, the Mercury is cool because she's got good artwork. That she's got a nice foresail with red, white, and blue. And I think this is actually an underrated American scout ship and or gunship. I've used her really effectively in Vessel Campaign Game 3 to transport some island upgrades. And with a captain and helmsman, she'll have a cargo space open. Very good speed at that point at SLS, good cannons. The Windcatcher keyword is best on a Gold Runner, but it's still useful for maneuverability, especially if you're docking and undocking a lot. And the ignoring terrain really helped with the island upgrades because I was able to go over reefs without taking damage. So it's kind of a specialty ship if you don't use it as a generic gunship, but I think it can really provide value in larger games and games where you have to cover a lot of distance really quickly.
Yeah, there's also the fact that Windcatchers are the most agile ship type because you can measure their move from their stern in addition to their bow. I don't remember, do Americans have an S-Explorer crew?
Not that I remember.
No? Yeah. Because that would be, like, perfect for this.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I'm not as enthralled by USS Mercury, this version. She has good guns, good base move, but not all that much cargo. The ability is decent, but not, like, super good. I think this is... and, like, the ship type is good, but at the same time... the Windcatcher keyword is most useful for when you need to change directions.
Yeah.
So, and that's not as important when your ship is fast.
Yeah.
Especially if it's built as a possible warship like the USS Mercury. Yeah. So, I guess maybe she's supposed to be some sort of interceptor. Probably more useful in small games. I'm going to say Captain, Helmsman, and then maybe Sat of some kind.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good combo. I think she proved her worth in big games too, so it just depends on the role you kind of assign to her. So, and the Americans do have an ex-explorer, Dr. Clark Lewis, who goes north based on Lewis and Clark. but he also has the ignoring terrain ability. So.
So is he 5 points or something?
4, but still.
4. Yeah, that's still redundant. Yeah, I bet that he could be better used on another ship with similar stats that doesn't spend extra points on ignoring terrain itself.
Yeah, I think the Peacock with a helmsman. I keep mentioning the Peacock, but she keeps coming up. So
yeah,
it's a decent combo.
Yeah. After USS Mercury comes another very red, white, and well, I guess does she have some blue on her? Polaris.
A little. Maybe.
Yeah. Another funny thing about Polaris, in this case, no, not the ship from Frozen North. So two ships in a row that have ships with identical names from previous sets. Polaris is a double catamaran. I think this is the first instance of a double catamaran appearing.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because there were none in Ocean's Edge. Ocean's Edge introduced the catamaran, and there were none in Caribbean. So, yeah, Polaris was the first double catamaran, which is basically the same rules as a catamaran. You have to roll to see if you're even allowed to shoot at the ship. And double catamarans are twice the pain because they can absorb twice as many hits. It's kind of the same idea as a turtle ship, but for a larger ship. Anyway, as a double catamaran, she has 3 masts. She's 15 points, 3 cargo space, L move, 3 S guns on the end, and a 3L in the middle. After the ship resolves a shoot action, she can move as a free action. She's got a lot going for her defensively, but I don't think she's all that great among catamarans because she's lacking firepower. She's not fast. She doesn't have much cargo space. She's expensive. Sure, she's probably kind of hard to kill, but she can't actually put out that much firepower.
Yeah, this one has never impressed me. I don't really like it, even though it's English. I think it's really boring, except for the double catamaran keyword. Reverse captain's not really worth the cost, so you'd have to put a World Hater and a Captain Helmsman ability on here, and that runs you up to around 24 points. So for that, you could get the Titan with, Captain Helmsman and reroll for 25. So the Polaris has a serious issue with costing and firepower. So basically, double catamaran's the only thing that makes it stand out, but that's not enough to salvage the ship. So number 095 is technically called the Speedy Return on the checklist, but we're going to talk about that on a future episode where we go to Savage Shores. So I'm going to move on to Terex, which is a cursed octopus, actually. And octopus and Kraken function the same, so you don't have to worry about that. Just look up the Kraken keyword in the master keyword list. And it also has Eternal, and it's a special edition, of course. 23 points, 0 cargo, of course, SS move. And the cannons, it's kind of just mixed up. It's got 4 4S's and 4 3S's. So it's got a mix of kind of mediocre cannons overall. The one thing that really makes this special is the SS move, which is faster than any of the Krakens from the Caribbean set. All 4 of those are L. And it also has Eternal. So this one, despite the lack of firepower and despite the huge cost, it's actually kind of comparable to some of the best Krakens that we've already seen. It doesn't have that global cancellation effect, which can be really devastating in a big game, but Terex is actually kind of viable in a large game, like 80, preferably 100 or more points, and it gives the Cursed a nice addition to their fleet of sea creatures, but realistically, the Kraken should have been there as well from Caribbean. So.
Yeah, Terex, because of the armament is lame, or tentaclement, as I've referred to it. Pun, but Terex's base move and Eternal keyword do help us stand out from the rest of the ones that were released. Terex had a counterpart in this set, or would have had one, called Ocho Brazo, which was number 97, after it on the checklist. Ocho Brazo, however, I'm not sure why, somebody out there might know, was first delayed to later sets and then ultimately never released. Ocho Brazo does not exist. never did exist, never will at this point, unless somebody, does some fan art and then prints off some copies for people to use. But even if somebody does do that, Ultrabrazo is not one you really want, because Ultrabrazo is easily the worst of the octopus.
Yeah.
Do you have the stats up to read? Because the stats did leak out, possibly through Wolf or someone else.
Yeah, Wolf released the stats for Ultrabrazo. Started with some hints on the forum a long time ago, and then he's given up the stats in full multiple times, I think, since then. So it's actually a Spanish octopus, same as the Kraken. It's 27 points, so 3 more than any other Kraken. 0 cargo, L move, all 8 tentacles are 3S, and it also has fear built in. So another instance of fear being overpriced, way overpriced. I could see this at like 18 or 19, so it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
27 is just obscene, honestly.
Yeah, Ultrabrazo's problem is it has an overpriced ability, and it's, it's just way too expensive and not nearly effective enough.
Yeah.
You can get cheaper things that are better, period. After Ultrabrazo is Grinder, and Grinder is probably one of the more valuable, like, SE boxed ship types out there. Grinder was the first turbine ever released, and now let me pull up the keywords thing so I can describe what a turbine is for you. It's basically kind of a paddle ship, and the ability is a ship with this keyword is not derelict when it has no masts remaining. If it has no masts, one hit still sinks it. So in other words, turbines can continue to move at their printed base move or use the bonuses for that move even when they have no masts.
Yep.
Which is pretty useful because the Grinder Grinder moves S plus L. Now diving into Grinder stats, 12 points, turbine, as I said, S plus L move, 4 cargo space, all 2L guns, and this ship cannot be pinned. Which is really interesting. So it's like super pro mobility. It's got great guns, good base move, and good cargo space. This is easily one of their best ships.
Yeah. Yeah, Wolf
it's a cursed ship, by the way.
Yeah, Wolf and I agree, and others, that the Grinder is pretty much the best cursed ship in existence. It's wicked good. It looks like one of the premier ships from even the Pirates, maybe, and based on the stats and everything. Normally, you would expect Wiz kids to cost this at 18 or more, probably, with how they usually do things. But for some reason, the curse really got a nice boon here. Maybe it'd be hilarious if it came out that it was like a misprint at like 22, but that'd be funny. But anyway.
Yeah, well, that's really funny you should say that, because I've made the same criticism about the next ship. Well, assuming you're done talking about Grinder.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, no, I got more to rave about. Sorry.
No, actually, you keep going then, because I'll bring up that thing later.
Yeah, no, it's just so good, because Turbine, I think I should make a YouTube video about this, but Turbine is underpriced. So you can have 4 coins board with a helmsman, or 3 coins, and still move SLS without any math. It's really, really great. It becomes pretty ugly with a oarsman, because then it's almost impossible to capture. You need canceling. This was a nightmare for the Americans facing the curse commanded by Xerix in CG3 on Vassal. Turbine, I think, I gotta give more exposure to this, because I think Turbine is one of the most underpriced keywords in the game, and I've had experience with it in a few physical games. El Cazador made a custom hoist turbine called the Tenfold, which honestly dominated some games.
Wait, does that actually move? Does that exist?
No, it's a custom, but
are the pieces compatible?
Oh,
because I know hoist and it's hoist and what was it? Bombardiers are super compatible. They're almost the exact same cutout.
Yeah. No, you'd have to attach the turbine somehow, but
yeah.
It's kind of a wacky concept. But we may have even talked about it already, I think. But anyway, on an earlier episode. But the Grinder it's ridiculous. It's one of those stacked ships, kind of like the Virtuous Wind. And it's just almost perfect pretty much in every way. And the cannot be pinned. I mean, you could use this as like a ramming boarding ship for stealing gold from enemy gold runners with a captain and helmsman. It's maybe the best cursed gunship and their best gold runner in a way in terms of 40-point games. So you can't lavish enough praise on the ship. So just incredible. So a must have for the curse, but it is kind of tough to acquire.
It's one of the weird things about turbines. There were only a couple released. There were more drafted up that were for a set that did not come out. We'll talk about that later. Not on this podcast, but the two aft masts are spaced way back from the first mast because of the paddle wheels for the turbine. It's really strange. But I've actually played Grinder. I do own one copy of this ship. I liked using it. Before I move on, I would like to talk about how the ship was distributed. I think starting with Ocean's Edge, they put out like special edition tins plus special edition boxes. Because if you think about it, there were special edition 4-mast ships from SE boxes in Ocean's Edge, in Caribbean, in Rise of the Fiends, and I think in Fire and Steel as well, although I don't think they did the SE ship tins for Fire and Steel, but they did do them for Ocean's Edge. They did do them for Caribbean. That's how you got the Krakens. And they did them for this, only for Rise of the Fiends, they called them treasure chests, and they're sort of like treasure chest little shaped boxes. For a while, you could still find them on Amazon, but they've disappeared. I guess they ran out of stock. Yeah. And for quite a while, that was a good way to have a very good chance of getting your hands on Grinder. Unfortunately, those are now pretty hard to find, and so is Grinder. But after Grinder on the list, and actually this ties into what you were talking about earlier with how Grinder may have been a typo. Maybe it's supposed to be 22, because I've said sort of the opposite about number 99 on the Rise of the Fiends checklist, Soul Crusher, which was not printed in Rise of the Fiends. It was also a turbine, but it came out in Savage Shores, and unfortunately, it's easily the worst turbine that was ever drafted up. They put it at 21 points. I joked about how they must have missed a key while trying to type out 11, because it's really bad. Yeah. It's considerably worse than Grinder, but it's 9 points more expensive.
Yeah,
it's a really bad ship.
Yeah, big mistake. Yep.
But we'll talk more about Soul Crusher in the Savage Shores review. After Soul Crusher, we'll have the 4 SE box 4-masters to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'll let you kick that off.
Okay. Yeah, HMS Forge is the first one, number 100 in the set. The English get a 4-master, 13 points, 4 cargo, L move. The cannons are 2S, 2L, 3L, 3S. So pretty good, getting slightly worse towards the stern. And this ship ignores the first hit. She takes each turn as long as she has all of her masts. So this is a pretty good gunship for the English. They get yet another well-priced, well-costed, large gunship option. So they've got a lot of them already. This just adds to the pile, essentially. So it's a very good ship. I've used her before pretty effectively. I would think Firepot Specialist, World Hater, those are pretty good options. Maybe extra action in a smaller game, but Forge is a good one.
Yeah, I do like Forge because she's well-armed, has good cargo, and a useful ability. A little bit on the slow side, and the English do have a lot of good options at this price range and for slightly cheaper, but she's probably an undersung option, and I think she's a pretty good-looking ship, too.
Yeah.
After HMS Forge, it comes Rusty Harpoon, which is not so good. This is more kind of generic box ship stuff. She's a good-looking ship, but her stats aren't so good. She's 12 points, 3 cargo, L move, all 3S guns, +1 boarding rolls, +1 cannon rolls against sea creatures. That's super boring.
Yeah, that's why I'm not hunting her too much. I don't have this one yet, but it's just not much to get excited about. So, oh well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The next one is Hades' Realm, which is very exciting. The curse get a 4-master, 13 points, 4 cargo, only S move, but you'll see in a second. All 4 cannons are 3S, and the ability is if this ship has a crew with the captain keyword, she gets plus L to her base move. So similar to Saratoga, a fantastic ability. So you start off at S, but then you add captain and helmsman, and you end up at SLS for 18 points with 2 cargo left over. Average firepower. So this is one of the best curse hybrids. It's one of their fastest ships in terms of like max speed, and it's 4 mass, so it's not even like a small quick ship. It's a legitimate threat. It's tough to fit much else on here. I guess Phantasma from this set would work. The 7-point version. You could try the OE version as well, but this is just a good curse gunship. It reminds me of the Executioner, just kind of, it's got some differences, but it's quite a good ship, honestly, for the curse.
Mm-hmm. Capabilities wise, it's pretty similar to the Executioner. That's a good comparison. Although it's like slightly cheaper for slightly less effective of a ship.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that Hades' Realm is tied with several other ships for the status of second fastest 4-masted ship in the game.
Nice.
You can read more about that in my review of the piece. It's not totally comprehensive, but it does go through that quite a lot. Hades' Realm is up there with HMS Forge and Franklin as some of the best SE 4-masted box ships, because a lot of them were really pretty bad. Yeah. I've got a ranking thread for that, and people can go through and check those out. The next one up is Isabella, which is Spain's entry into this. Isabella is 12 points, has only S base move, but has 5 cargo, all rank 3 guns, S at the ends, L in the middle, and one of the ship's treasures is worth plus 2 gold when unloaded at your home island. I feel like, and she's got that, crazy yellow gold, yellow and red art that we've seen for many Spanish ships this set.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen this ship before this set already, you know?
Yeah, the Concepcion is a tiny bit faster but worse firepower. So it's another treasure galleon, extremely similar artwork too. The Isabella is slightly better as a hybrid, but she's really slow, so the Conception is a bit better as a straight gold ship or treasure carrier. And the Isabella randomly is one of the best ships to proxy for the Castige.
Castige, I think it is, maybe.
Yeah, that's how I used to say it, but I thought I was doing it wrong. But anyway,
I might be saying it wrong.
Yeah, either way. But that's one of the ships in a bottle, one of ones that Old Man has. It looks kind of similar to the Isabella. So anyway,
yeah,
the Isabella is a solid ship actually. The speed really holds her back, but she's not bad at all. So now we're into the number 200 LEs. If you want to introduce those,
I will. I'll talk about first how these were not distributed, because most sets, when you scroll through, you find the set of promos or LEs or whatever they are. For some reason, they're marked differently after a certain point in the game's history. Despite all having bronze corners, everybody knows that, starting with ship number 200 whatever in basically every set since the South China Seas. Yeah, every set between South China Seas and Ocean's Edge, you had tournament pack ships. There were 18 of them. They started at number 200. They all had the bronze corner, and you could get them in little tournament pack things with a booster box. Well, this set had a bunch of ships and crew and unique treasures drawn up, but they were never distributed in little packs with booster boxes. The only way the LEs were distributed were in the factory set, which I think were sent out to journalists or sometimes game shops. They were just kind of a demo thing. And So all of these are only available through factory sets, which on occasion come up for sale. I snapped one up that was a decent deal on eBay at one point, and don't bother just trying to get them like individually unless you only want one or two, because they're going to be expensive that way.
Yeah, I remember you got a really good deal on that because I was watching it and I was astounded by how low it was. Great.
I don't remember what it went for, but it wasn't that much.
Yeah.
Or maybe it wasn't like amazingly much, but it was. I don't remember it being super cheap. I remember myself thinking, I've got to sell off the rest of the thing to get my money back.
Yeah. I think some people have paid around $200 though just for the LEs in the past. So.
Yeah. Something else funny about the factory set is it's the only way to acquire non-punched SE boxed Four Masters from this set, because all SE boxed Four Masters were normally punched and assembled and visible through a little window in the box. With this set, you could get them unpunched in the factory set. I hate to tell people, but the ones that I pulled out of my factory set, I have since punched and assembled. So. I'm sure I could have auctioned them off individually.
Somebody was selling those unpunched on the forum maybe a few years ago, and that was definitely a unique case. That does make them pretty interesting. But three out of the 4 SE box ships are worth using. So it's good to punch them and use them. So I'll start the LEs.
Feel free.
So the Fool's Hope, fittingly, I started the set with the ship, and here's the limited edition version. Like 2.5 hours later, number 200. It's a Pirate 5 Master again. This one is only 14 points, so 5 points less. 3 cargo, L move, all 5 cannons are 3S. That's all the same. But then instead of Eternal and a boarding ability, she has EA. Once returned, roll a d6 on a 5 or 6, give her an extra action, which is way better than that combo we saw earlier, especially for 5 points less. So this is a far better version of Fool's Hope. This one is actually, I think, one of the more underrated Pirate 5 Masters. I would say Captain Helmsman, reroll World Hater, and you're good to go. Devastating.
I would agree with you. I'd also like to point out, again, I made the comparison to the promotional version of Flying Dutchman, which was 11 points, 3 cargo space, L move, all 3S guns. This is basically that, plus EA for 3 points more, which makes Fool's Hope, this version of Fool's Hope, a really good deal and far better than the powerful but too expensive version that we saw earlier. And just as a pretext, in case I didn't mention it, every LE in this set, of about a dozen of them, they are all sort of clones of existing ships from pack circulation, but with modified stats. Yep. So we're going to have a few 5 Masters, a few 1 Masters crew, and then some UTs. The next 5 Master is HMS Apollo. This version is also 14 points, 4 cargo, SS move, 2 S guns on the end, 3 L guns in the middle. And this one has reroll instead of that kind of, it was like some faction-specific ability, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was +1 against pirates for the rare version.
Yeah. This is a much more flexible ability, and even if you're facing pirates, arguably as valuable, if not still more valuable.
Yeah.
Combine the good firepower and the good cargo space and a nice flexible ability, and you've got really another pretty dang good 5 Master here.
Yeah. Yet again, the English get a great 5 Master. This one even better than the rare version. They look pretty much identical, so this is another good...
I think they just reused the art.
Yeah, it is the same, yep. Which is alright. And we see a beat-up Apollo next set, but anyway. So this one is definitely better, and I like the proxy case where you could just use this version, because it's better, so... Which I've done a few times, so... Another great ship. And the next one is even greater, though. The San Cristobal returns as 5 Master, of course, for the Spanish. This one is 15 points as compared to 17. 5 cargo, SS move. The cannons are the same, 3 S's on the ends, and then 3 L's, the middle 3 cannons, and SAT built in. So once per turn, roll a d6 on a 5 or 6. You can give her the same action twice. So this one Not quite as good as the other version, but still a wicked good 5-master. I would do Captain Helmsman, maybe reroll, and this is just an incredible ship. Not as famous as the other version, but almost as good as being just wicked good. It's crazy how amazing both are.
Yeah. This version of San Cristobal I like to liken to HMS Titan. And the reason for that is this version of Cristobal is 15 points, Titan is 17, so they're not quite the same, but they do have a lot of things in common. They both have 5 cargo space. They both have S-range guns on the ends and then all L in the middle, and then an ability that gives them an extra action. This one's faster and has SAT instead of EA, and its guns are not quite as accurate, but it is 2 points cheaper, and of course it's Spanish, so it won't play the same because you're going to have different crew on it. But it's still absolutely comparable and excellent.
Yep.
After San Cristobal comes Weasel again, and it's still terrible because it's 5 points, 3 cargo, S move, 4 S gun, and once per turn this can look good at 1 face down cargo and a ship. It's too slow to be a decent gold runner, and putting a helmsman on it would be a waste of points. It's awful.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than the other version because it's 3 points cheaper, but it's still pretty much unusable, so especially with pirates. The Stingray appears next, and she's 2 points cheaper. 1-masted English sloop, 2 cargo, S move, 2 S cannon still. Instead of L immunity, she has cargo wrecking. For every hit, you eliminate a cargo, but she's only got 1 cannon, and at S speed, you're not going to catch much of anything or stand a chance against ramming, so it's still pretty much useless. Yeah,
HMS Stingray is in both forms awful. This version, it's trying to be a support gunship. It's not good enough for that. It just isn't. This version of Halcon, though, next ship down, again, it's not anything super special, but it is an okay gold runner. It's 6 points, 3 cargo, L move, 3 S gun. Once per turn, the ship can move S after unloading cargo. So it's got a fitting ability. It's still nothing super special, but you won't hate yourself for using it.
Yeah, this one is not too bad. Very similar to the other version. Same 6 point cost, but not too much to get excited about, but it's all right.
The crew, however, are worth getting excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. Crimson Angel, yet another version of her. I don't know, this might be 4 or 5 in the game overall, including both in this set. So 6 points now. She does have the crew of any nationality, can use her abilities on this ship, but she also gets captain now. So a couple 3-point abilities combined into 1 cargo space. This is a great crew for a ship like the Zeus or an expensive Pirate 5-master, maybe even the 20-point Flying Dutchman. I'm not 100% sure which crew would be best. Maybe you could do Copy or Davy Jones. You could do a lot of interesting things with the ability. So it's a good crew, definitely.
Yeah, this, because she combines Captain, one of the best abilities in the game, and the any nationality crew ability, which one of the most flexible abilities in the game. There's a lot that can be done with this, and because she's a pirate, she's access to many of the best ships in the game. Davy Jones, Schultz, or you can do all sorts of stuff with this version of Crimson Angel. Some of them may involve the next crew down on the list, which I like to make use of quite a lot in hypothetical fleets. It's the LE version of Griffin. And this version of Griffin is super interesting because he's 7 points, so he's pretty expensive. But his ability is, if this ship has a captain keyword, she gets +1 to her cannon rolls and +S to her base move. Both of these stack with stuff like World Hater and with a helmsman. So with Griffin, a captain, a helmsman, and a World Hater, you can get +2 to your cannon rolls and +SS to your move. He's expensive, but his abilities are incredibly powerful, and they do allow you to kind of go nuts with stacking bonuses.
Yeah, Yeah, this is a really great crew. It can be devastating on a big ship that can afford to fit a lot of points of those other abilities that stack, like the Titan, the Swallow, they come to mind, maybe on a 10 master of some kind, like the Shui Zhuan. So yeah, this one has a lot of potential. And once again, it's an easy proxy because the common version is quite common, because it's a pretty common set for the most part. And same picture and everything, same set. So, and the next one is Dominic Freda. This is another version of him. This one has Explorer, but instead of +1 cargo, it has the +2 gold ability. So one of the ship's treasures is worth +2 gold when unloaded at your home island. Still 4 points. The other one is a little bit better for hybrid use, but this one, if you've already got a ship with a lot of cargo, this is a really fantastic crew for a lot of different Spanish ships.
Mm-hmm. Both versions of Dominic Fred are absolutely magnificent. I'd say the other one is probably more useful on more ships, but on the right ship, this version of Dominic Freda is absolutely amazing too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. After Dominic Freda comes the original version of Voodoo Doll, Death's Doll, and funny enough, Death's Doll doesn't actually have a description on Miniature Trading, but fortunately Wolf has a comment that describes it. It's the same thing as Voodoo Doll, except that it can target the cursed. It doesn't discriminate against factions. It affects everything. So I'm going to open up Voodoo Doll and just kind of read it off as if it didn't affect, or as if it did affect the cursed. So it's at the beginning of each of your turns, choose an enemy crew and roll a d6. As a result, or on a result of 5 or 6, that turn that crew face down. It can't use its abilities on its next turn. So it's basically a random chance canceller that can be used from anywhere on the board. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
that's a solid one.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bloody Gold is the next one. So this one is basically blood money, which I went over. But this one, Wolf says the only gameplay difference is that the Spanish are not immune to Bloody Gold, which makes it more reasonable. So I'd much rather use this one, but it's more rare. And I still wouldn't really want to use it because it's pretty nasty negative UT that takes a while to read and fully understand.
Yeah. Bloody Gold is, the blood money one is like a super irritating Spain favoring negative UT. Bloody Gold is a super irritating nobody favoring negative UT. It's not as bad as Wolves or Missionary probably, but it's up there, and you really wouldn't want to use it as anything other than a way to shut down gold running for your opponent. And then comes up Savage Natives, which is the last one of the LEs. And it says it's a direct variant of Cursed Natives, which was the pack version. Only difference is that it does affect the cursed. So I'm just going to read it off as how it should be. It's when revealed, roll a d6. On a result of 1 to 3, eliminate a crew on the ship has the lowest point value. On 4 to 6, eliminate the crew that has the highest point value. The ship can then load 1 more treasure only. Put cursed natives face, or I guess in this case, savage natives face down on the island. This ship must leave the island on your next turn. I'm guessing this was probably inspired by the natives from the Pirates of the Caribbean film, the second one.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, again, kind of an irritating negative UT, not a super special one. And should we do the mail-in or the what's it called?
The Spectre makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
okay.
Number 300 is a unique mail-in ship called the Spectre. You have to get the special Spectre story and mail it back in, I think, with pack wrappers. And number 300 is a cursed 5-master. It's 21 points, 4 cargo, L move. The cannons are 4S, 3S, 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 4S, and then Fear. And after this ship moves, she can look at all treasure on all islands and ships within L of her, which is also the Unholy Light keyword. And this one, I love the concept. I think it's really cool. This one is glow in the dark, so they actually made the the ship parts, the sails, and the hull and everything glow in the dark featured, which I think is awesome. I don't have this one yet. This is one of my most wanted ships to some degree, but as you can kind of tell, it's not great for gameplay. It doesn't really have anything awesome going for it. I think for 21 points, it should have either LS speed or much better, like 2L cannons or something. They overpriced Fear and the Unholy Light ability, so the Spectre really suffers for it. It's one of the coolest ideas they had that was not well executed, just like some of their other cool ideas.
Yeah, Spectre's a really cool ship that I wish was worth using. But, I mean, I say that because, yeah, she's a cool, rare Malin ship, and she's glow-in-the-dark, she looks cool, and she's got an interesting ability, but unfortunately, all of her base stats just let her down so much. The guns are kind of bleh, the base move is bleh, the cargo space is, it's good, but it's not nearly good enough to make you go, yeah, let's use this as a gold runner, which is what she's supposed to be. And she's really expensive. I mean, to justify her at this cost, all 2L guns, I don't think would work. She's not built for that. I think she would need significantly more cargo, like 6 or 7, and at least SS move, maybe even LS.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like 7 cargo and LS. Actually, why not make it 8 cargo and LS, give the curse something interesting and good?
Yeah, no 5-master has more than 6 cargo, so I just think it's a little funky.
Well, 4-master has 8 cargo.
I know, well, that's...
Also a 3-master.
Yeah, that's another mistake was kids made, in my opinion, but oh well.
Blame Wolf. Just kidding, Wolf, we love you. But... actually, I'd like to talk real quick about how Spectre was intended to be acquired. Spectre was a mail-in offer ship. You would have gone through packs, seen if you could find the story unique to the Spectre, and then mail it in with like a couple receipts and like a little form, and then they would mail you back the Spectre. But as we discussed earlier, the distribution for the story slips was really pretty poor, so it was kind of tough to get Spectre. I think they were also having some like distribution problems even with successful mail-ins back in the day, from what I heard.
Yeah.
This being towards the end of the game's production run. And we have one more ship to talk about after Spectre that we skipped over at the very beginning. Would you like to bring that up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really cool ship I've had for a while that I like. So the Delusion, as a lot of people probably know, is the most expensive ship in the game. This is a cursed 10-master. It's 35 points, so a ridiculous cost. Technically, the Baochuan and Guichuan you spend more points on because you have to use the crew, but the Delusion has the highest base cost in the game by 5 points. So she's 35, 7 cargo, L move, the 10 cannons from bow to stern. Hopefully this is correct in the database. I think I've corrected it at least once. It's 4S, 4L, 3 3Ls, 4L, 3S, 4S, 3S, 3S. So they're all ranked 3 and 4 with a mix of ranges. And then it's got a whopping 5 different keywords. So we've got Eternal, so it can come back. Filching Gold, so you can take a treasure without needing to win a boarding party. Ghost Ship, so you can ghost through islands and other ships and terrain. Junk.
But you can't because it's too big.
Yeah, well, with extra actions you can with Davy Jones board. Junk, which so you can shoot through your own mass, of course, 10 massive junk. And Unholy Light, which we just saw on the Spectre, so you can peek at all the treasures on ships and islands with an L of the ship. And it's got a link to Fitzgerald, which is the featured named crew. He's just a basic 5-point curse named crew with hoarding gold, which is kind of not too necessary because you're usually going to use the Delusion as a giant gunship, and she's already got filching gold built in. But you could use Fitzgerald on another cursed ship because you don't have to use them on the Delusion. So the Delusion is also glow in the dark. There's actually an excellent gallery picture of the Delusion, and glowing in the dark, it looks amazing. I actually took a number of pictures of the Delusion in the dark for my 2014 fleet review when I reviewed my entire collection, basically. It was really cool. and I'll try to remember to put links or put a picture up in the thread at the very least of the Delusion glowing in the dark. And that being said, though, the Delusion really falls short because she's obscenely expensive. She can't really do anything great. You'd like to use her as like this epic hybrid, but even the Curse could get better options for less. Like you could use the Hades Realm and the Executioner and have 2 hybrids for less points. So the Delusion kind of just falls prey to having a ton of stuff that makes her really expensive. I think if you took away Unholy Light and maybe even Ghost Ship, that would make her less thematic, but it would make her a little bit more usable. But for 35 points, I think they could have made the cannon ranges, or the cannon ranks, all like 1 better and kept the 35 cost, because she's just not that good of a ship. I've used her in campaign games. I have a ton of different ideas on setups. I have one really cool setup where Captain Nemo comes aboard and you start sacking stuff. It's crazy. There's like, and I use Sir Edmund to put 41 points worth of crew aboard, so it totals like 76 points total for the combo. It's pretty crazy. And that being said, the Delusion is best suited for campaign games where she needs support to be effective, because she doesn't actually do as well as you would hope for all the stuff she's got going for her.
Yeah, Delusion to me is, unless you're going to go way overboard with her, she's the worst 5 master, because she's got the highest
or 10
cost of 10 master. She's got the highest cost of entry. She doesn't actually have that great of guns. She doesn't have crazy cargo space or any special base move. She's got a lot of superfluous abilities that you don't need and possibly won't, or even sometimes can't use. Ghost Ship, for example, unless you have a helmsman and extra actions, you can't use, because what are you going to do, go over islands and avoid them? The ship is too big. I don't know if I'm sure that some of you out there who are listening don't own any 10 masters, in which case I say go get a Bouchwan. They're still cheap, and I'd say overall probably the second best 10 master. That's my opinion. I'll have to do the ranking thread on that at some point. But 10 masters are legitimately huge. They're like a lot of the ships in the game are like an inch or 2 long. I would say, how long would you say a 10 master is, Ben? They're like 5 or 6 inches. Yeah, they're gigantic.
I think 6. Based on, I don't know, where the hull touches the water could be 5, but if you go bow to stern, stem to stern, it could be 6 or 7. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, really huge. Yeah, I guess their base is probably 4.5 inches, maybe 5. They're gigantic, and it's almost impossible to use something like Ghost Ship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure Delusion has some really interesting possibilities if you are willing to throw astonishing amounts of abilities on them.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
But aside from that, she's kind of bleh to me, because she's impossible to use in any game that I will ever play. And even if I were to play a really big game, I'd rather use ships that I like more.
Yeah, and even the other 10 masters too. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Fitzgerald, I guess I'll just say, is couldn't they have come up with a more interesting crew for this?
Yeah, I think it would be cooler if Fitzgerald had one of the keywords from the Delusion with Hoarding Gold for a more appropriate price. Like one of those with Hoarding Gold for like 6 or 7. Yeah, like almost a discount maybe.
Yeah.
Because then the Delusion would be cheaper and Fitzgerald would be more unique too. So, anyway. The Delusion's kind of like epic, but almost like, in a lot of ways, like an epic fail, kind of. I don't know. It's like, the coolness factor is off the charts, but then, in terms of winning games, she just doesn't measure up.
In addition, what's the name of it's evading me right now. What's the name of the box or the pack that Delusion is available in? Delusion is probably like still the most accessible 10 master.
Yeah, the Plunder Pack. I'll put a link.
Yeah, the Plunder Pack.
Yeah. I'm going to put a bunch of links to Rise of the Fiends stuff if people want to buy the set. I'm going to do a bunch of that, actually.
Yeah, the Plunder Pack was a sort of special box available for this set. It came with the Delusion, a play mat, and then I don't remember what else. How many packs of what sets came in it? Do you remember?
I think it was 2 Ocean's Edge mega packs, and then the map. So
okay, so 2 mega packs, a 10 master, and then the play mat.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what that mat is made of? Is it like vinyl or is it like paper?
Yeah, it feels vinyl to me. It's like kind of like a glossy plastic. So.
Okay, so it's like a decent material, but do the creases come out?
Not if you keep it folded. I mean, I don't know. I've used it a few times before I got my blue fabric, but I'd highly recommend the blue fabric because it's lighter. The creases come out more easily, and it looks way better. The Plunder Pack map, regardless of the creases, that is a problem, but it doesn't. I don't know. It's kind of glum. It's kind of like gloomy. It's very gray and drab. It's not a very pretty ocean to play on, honestly. So.
Yeah. Yeah, those are still available for like $50, sometimes cheaper in flash sales on Hills Wholesale Gaming, which is one of the few. Yeah, it's one of the few shops that still stock a considerable amount of Pirate CSG.
That's a perfect accidental segue because I was about to mention that. I've got Hills up. The Plunder Packs are right now on sale for $35 instead of $49.
Ooh, and that's a pretty good deal for new players.
But making things even more crazy is Rise of the Fiends, lot of 36 booster packs, is on sale for $54 instead of $72. So this is a perfect time to buy Rise of the Fiends at Hills as a result. The timing is ridiculous. We didn't do this on purpose, but Rise of the Fiends set review just happens to be when
we're not sponsored or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, Rise of the Fiends, so that's on sale. The Plunder Pack is on sale, so perfect timing. So awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, to wrap up, I think my thoughts on the set are that I have to admit to my kind of mistakes I've made in the past. I bashed this set because of the name, the islands, the scorpions that I hate, the reverse power creep. The set was small. The UTs are a mess, but honestly, the majority of the set has a lot of interesting ships. The artwork is great. There's a ton of great name crew. Flotillas are awesome. A ton of the ships are usable, if not downright good or great or historically good, like the San Cristobal. So I underrate this set, and I have to fess up to underrating it quite often in the past. It's still not one of the best sets by any means, but it's really not a bad option, especially because it's usually pretty accessible and not too expensive.
I'm going to say I feel sort of slightly the opposite. I think most of it is like really pretty underwhelming and forgettable. I do agree on the art, but it's, I think, redeemed by the handful of really, really great units for factions that were otherwise kind of neglected for several sets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, specifically, the Cursed and the Spanish got some really great stuff.
Yeah.
As did the Pirates and the English. They aren't nearly as neglected throughout much of the game's period up through there. But yeah, I think things will get interesting with the Fire and Steel set, because I don't think we'll have as much positive to say.
No, not at all.
No, Fire and Steel is going to be kind of ugly.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's a big stat, too, so it might be even longer, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does have some interesting stuff in there, though.
Yep.
Not necessarily all good, but definitely some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so that just wraps it up pretty much. Check out the post or the description below on YouTube, or the podcast post on the various sites, because I'm going to include a lot of links. I'll include some pictures. I'm going to link up your Hades Realm review. I'm going to put links to buy. Yeah, I'm going to put links to buy Rise of the Fiends. I got a note to ask Wolf that rules question, and so thanks for watching.